Hi, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Trevor. And today on Catching Up on Cinema, Kyle arranged to have us watch Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. This is a Blumhouse production. If you're not familiar, they are a production house that has developed over the past several years a very, very, very steady reputation for cranking out low-budget horror movies, classy productions that make a shit ton of money. And this definitely fits the mold. So Kyle, when this movie came out, was pretty hyped about it. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that he asked me to watch this in April.
Yeah,
In April of 2019. Like, I had a feeling that you were going to wait until the Halloween season to watch this, but
you'd think.
I guess you just couldn't wait or something.
Nah, because when I think Halloween, I think mid-April.
Yeah, the sun's out. You got cherry blossoms on the grass.
Well, it looked good enough for me, and at the time, I wasn't in a position where I could go see it in the theater. I was way too busy. Just couldn't make it. This is definitely one I would have seen in the theater. I went ahead and watched it because it was available for renting, and if you've been listening for a while now, you know that I have to watch scary movies when my girlfriend's gone, and I just had such an opportunity. Real quick, by the way, I got my Blu-ray of Hagazusa. Haven't got a chance to crack into it yet, but I did get that the day it came out.
I have heard some great things about that. In fact, I got in a conversation with someone on the Twitter who he's a journalist apparently. He wrote a review for it and he gave it like top marks. And apparently it's a directorial debut, so
it is.
You might be
following
ahead of the curve. Yeah.
So I went ahead and had you watch this because I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I went in, as I mentioned before we started recording, that I went into this Halloween having seen quite a few of the other Halloween movies. I think the only one I haven't seen is the one that has no Michael Myers in it, which I believe is Season of the Witch, the Halloween
Correct.
3.
Yep.
That is the only one I haven't seen, and I've seen all these. Some of these I've seen several times. I apologize. I haven't seen Halloween Resurrection. I have seen H2O though.
Yeah, I think I guess we're on the same level in terms of our investment in the franchise then, because the only two that I haven't seen are Resurrection, starring Busta Rhymes, and he wins a fist fight with Michael Myers in that film. That's actually why I didn't watch it.
I would believe it.
I mean, Busta in his red gi, that iconic photo where he's in his Last Dragon show enough getup. That is pretty badass. But yeah, that was actually the reason I didn't watch the film. Was that I forget who told me, maybe my brother, but I knew about that going in, and I was like, it's the early 2000s. It's a Halloween movie. Busta Rhymes beats up Michael Myers. I don't think I need this. But the other one that I haven't seen is the Rob Zombie Halloween 2.
Oh, interesting. I have actually seen that movie, and I can't tell you anything about it. It was really confusing going in, because I have actually a kind of a funny story about seeing Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie. I went on a date with my girlfriend at the time. I had to have been 8. We were 18, and we went into this theater, and we were sitting there. The movie's getting started, and I could just smell this smell. And I'm like, what is that smell? It smells like feet. And I'm like, teenager. My mom calls my brother and I Seinfelds, how we get like hung up if a girl has, just one little thing, like she's got the Jimmy legs. But I was like, oh my gosh, she smells like feet. I'm like, oh no, this is bad. And I noticed, because this is a horror movie, there's lots of young people there, and I look down and I see some people. I'm like, oh, they go to my high school. They're younger than me. I don't know their names. And I see one girl. I'm like, I recognize that girl. And I was sitting there. I'm like, oh, a buddy of mine had told me about her. She always smelled like feet. I remember him saying that specifically, that this girl at our school specifically smelled like feet. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking it's her. I'm like, okay, I can enjoy this movie now. I liked the movie. It was great. And we're walking out, and you're doing the after movie talk. You're like, so what did you think about the movie? And I'm like, oh, it was pretty good. And she says, this girl that was sitting by me just smelled bad. And I was like, she goes to my school. I know, she smells like feet. Yeah, it was a nice moment.
Yeah, it's like you found common ground.
Yeah, right.
This is a relationship that's meant to last, except it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
So, if you haven't listened to the show before, Kyle is very big on horror films. I think I have a more analytical viewpoint of horror films. I don't actually watch that many of them, but I'm endlessly fascinated by them, and I like obsessively read about all the new ones that come out because it's a wonderful, innovative genre that it's the fastest moving and evolving genre in film, if you ask me. Because it tends to be where the low budget people, like the indie types, get rolling. It's where they get their start, and they're more adventurous because it's early in their career, and who gives a fuck? But in terms of your attachment to horror films, you're not too much big on slashers, am I correct?
No, and I was actually surprised when you said that you and I have covered pretty much the same basis as far as this franchise goes. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know why I've seen all these movies because I'm not crazy about slashers. I would say that this is probably... would you consider The Strangers a slasher film?
Close. I mean, technically, yeah, I guess
more or less.
I would lump it in there, except for it's more of like a bottle drama.
Yeah, like, it's a little more atmospheric. It's not... I mean, there's really not that much...
Well, like You're Next, for instance, that has some slasher elements, but that is decidedly not a slasher film.
I mean,
it's more than that.
I would say it's a little hard. I think it's harder to classify The Strangers as a slasher film, but I could see it. I could see that case being made.
Did you see the sequel to that, by the way?
Absolutely.
Like last year.
Absolutely not. No, I did not watch that. You can't top The Strangers. That movie is really good, and you can't top that. Don't try to make it again.
It's a very solid, simple horror film. Like I enjoyed it.
But I love the original Halloween. I think I had it recorded off HBO. It's a perfect horror movie in that it actually looks good, and it has tension. It builds. You have a villain that is, as the sequels to the original will tell you, invincible, but at least hard to kill. And there's lots of boobs, which is always nice for, a teenage boy. I mean, that first movie is just riddled with them.
They're flipping and flopping. Gravity is having its way.
I mean, there's a lot of iconic shots. It was actually, they did it. We'll get into a few of my problems with this Halloween, but the boyfriend being stabbed up against the wall and him hanging there, and then Michael actually just kind of like turning his head and looking back, kind of just looking into him, looking into the blacks of his eyes.
Well, I mean, what happens to almost any franchise, not just horror franchise, but the slasher movies also, especially like the Freddy Kruegers. In wrestling terms, it's what happens when you catch wind of something the audience likes and you give them too much of it.
Yeah.
For instance, the head tilt. That was probably just something dreamt up on the set. That the actor, Nick Castle is the gentleman's name, who played the original Shape, the Michael Meyers character. He's in this film, reprising his role in certain shots. For I'm guessing for the more physical stuff, because he's a very old man by now. They had a different gentleman whose name I wrote down somewhere in my notes. I'll get to it later. But that head tilt, I'm sure, was just kind of like a little thing that they put in there that carried a lot of weight and resonated with a lot of people. And then it just became this trademark move where it becomes the people's elbow of Michael Myers' repertoire. Where it's like, if he doesn't do the head tilt, I'm booing. I'm going to start a riot. This is bullshit.
Just you saying the people's...
This is bullshit.
Just you saying the people's elbow. When people are like, man, The Rock is really successful. I'm like, you needed him to be successful, okay?
You elevated him to the success.
You brought him to where he's at. Oh, fuck.
You're hooting and hollering at his elbows is what got him where he's at.
There's another really cool shot in that original that we touched on, and I'm sure most people have touched on Halloween at some point in some kind of film class. If they're a film major, they've taken a horror film class. But near the end of the film, where she thinks she's killed Michael, and he comes up from behind the bed.
Yeah.
He just sits up straight like a board. And our professor was like, did he practice it? Did he sit there and just practice that movement until he had it right? Or did he actually have somebody with a board pushing him up to do that. And ever since then, every time I think of that shot, I'm like, I wonder how they did do it. I don't know.
It's like that motherfucker was doing planks 24/7.
Doing planks before planks were a thing.
He was getting that core just like activated, getting that hinge. But
so yeah,
I was just gonna say that you mentioned the first film is handsome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very beautiful to look at film. Cinematography by Dean Cundey, who has worked with the best of the best of the best. The Spielbergs and the John Carpenters of the film world.
Steven Spielberg, who is that? I've never heard of him.
I don't know. Steven Spielberg?
He sounds. I think he might have done a Tom Hanks film or two. I don't know.
Yeah, he may have done some movies with some guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But point being, John Carpenter's films, while typically very under budget for the most part, I happen to really enjoy most of his filmography. They're also very, very handsome films, especially The Thing. That's a gorgeous film in so many ways. And I was very, very happy to see that tradition carry on to the cinematography of this film in some ways.
Right.
It's like we have a DP who has 2 pots of coffee on all the time. Like he's just on point all the time.
We're in the age of amphetamines, my friend. Prescription amphetamines.
Oh, yeah, he's microdosing or something.
I was going to say,
his Adderall.
You want to go ahead and jump in? Because I wanted to just mirror something from the first movie to this one. I loved the title sequence in this film. That actually comes after our cold open. But the title sequence, it actually is very similar to the original Halloween because we have a cold open.
Yeah.
And the title sequence, I love in both of these movies.
Yeah, it was very good. If you wanted to jump into it, we certainly can. But I did want to have some more slasher talk with you at some point.
Oh, we can definitely do it.
But let's get to it. So, like you said, we do have a bit of a cold open. It's not credits to begin with. We get a Bond movie opening where it's like, what the fuck is going on?
we should mention, and we can talk some more about our other Halloween movies that we've seen. But This movie is taking place after the events of the first movie. There are no other films.
Yeah,
going into this
Kyle,
movie.
Are you familiar with the term retcon?
I get weightlifting supplements from a website called Retcon, but I think it's probably a different thing.
Wow, that was
shout
amazing.
out to Retcon.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
So for you and anybody at home who might not be familiar, the term retcon, as far as I understand, originated in comic books, but it means retroactive continuity. And what that means is we're taking some shit that everybody knows happened because it's documented, but we're going to pretend it didn't happen. So basically, it's a change to the continuity after the fact. So like in Godzilla movie terms, they actually did something very, very similar to this, where Godzilla 1984 came out, 30 years after the 54 original? In between, we had 15 movies or so, but 1984 retconned all those movies and said, no, only the first one happened. And this is a concept that we're seeing applied to movies more and more regularly, I think because audiences, because of the internet and being able to look up all the storylines, all these movies at will, it's much, much easier to follow things. Hence the reason we have Avengers movies and stuff where the story's told over 20 movies or whatever. Anyway, like you said, this movie, Halloween 2018, bearing the same title as Halloween 78, pretends that only the first Halloween movie happened. Not even the second one, which was supposed to have taken place on the same night as the first film.
Which I think they could have done. I think they could have left it at the first two, but I don't think it really matters.
They could have, especially since they jab fun at the first film a little bit, and we'll get to that later.
JC did the second one too, didn't he?
Excuse me?
John Carpenter, he did the second Halloween.
No, he did not.
Did he have the same...
I think he produced it, but he did not direct it.
Because it looks like... It feels like the same film. Like, it kind of just blends for me.
If you're going to have a story that takes place on the same night, that means that somebody did their homework in making the film look and feel similar. It's a little bit more aggressive. Like it's a nastier film in a lot of ways.
It is.
The violence quotient is much higher.
Yes.
I actually enjoy it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a solid movie, and plus hospitals are just creepy.
That one nurse's death. Yeah, hospitals are creepy. That one nurse's death was pretty brutal.
You talking about the boiler thing?
Yeah, the nurse with the boobs. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how could you forget?
Yeah, that's a very memorable scene from that movie. It's a bit much.
So, I guess we should get to Halloween 2018. Again, directed by David Gordon Green, who has a eclectic filmography. He did a lot of Seth Rogen movies, like Pineapple Express and Your Highness.
I love
Or
both
Danny
of those
McBride,
movies.
rather.
Your
Danny
Highness...
McBride co-wrote this film, by the way.
I saw that. It's when I see Fred Savage's name come up on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm like, that's not the same Fred Savage. That can't be the same Danny McBride. No. and actually, like, it is the same Danny McBride, but he had a funny line in Tropic Thunder where he was like, listen, I almost blinded Jamie Lee Curtis on the set of Freaky Friday, okay? if I screw up again, I'm done.
But yeah, so he has, these stoner comedies and stuff earlier in his career, but in recent years, he did this Nicolas Cage film that I know nothing about other than its reputation for being a very, very good film. It's called Joe.
I haven't seen that.
And then the Jake Gyllenhaal Stronger movie about the Boston Marathon bombing survivor.
Yeah. I didn't watch
Heavy
that.
stuff. But now he's doing this. So, like I said, eclectic. He wears many hats, seemingly effectively, too. This is also produced by a fella by the name of Malik Akkad. I'm guessing he's related to Mustafa Akkad, who is known as, like, the shepherd of the Halloween franchise. Like, you know how Kevin Feige is the Marvel guy?
Mm-hmm.
He's the executive producer who guides the continuity for all these films.
Okay.
Mustafa Akkad is that for the Halloween franchise. It's like his baby.
Let's see here. David Gordon Green has also done the second most episodes of Eastbound and Down, which is one of the funniest shows ever.
I think
Kenny
you've told me
fucking
that
Powers.
before, but it goes to show he and Danny McBride are like buddy. The movie opens with just some production labels. We get the Blumhouse logo, so it's a sign of quality right away. I really dug the fonts. Retro shit, orange font with a little bit of like orange glow to it. Definitely a throwback to the original. And then we get a bunch of macro shots. It's very disorienting, but very pretty to look at because unfortunately, I'm not a cinematographer, nor am I a photographer. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know the technical terminology, but they put like a depth of field effect on a lot of shots in this film, and it gives it a look, like a very distinct look, where whatever is in the center of the frame or whatever is the center of the focus is deep focus, but there's like a halo of blurriness around it, and it's very disorienting. It's very like dreamlike almost. It's almost like Predator vision or something, not like Alien Predator, but like
you're focused on on one thing.
Yeah, like an unnatural focus where it's like that's not how eyes work, but in a otherworldly sense, it gives it a look. But we get a lot of macro shots of like I thought it was a child's eyes, and the decor of this asylum that we're in, I thought we were in the 70s or something, because all the equipment and like the paint on the walls and stuff made me think like, oh, this is the past. No, it's just a shit facility.
Shit facility. I don't even know if this is like Arkham Asylum. This isn't even like a mental institution. This is like for the criminally insane. Do these exist? I thought this was just Gotham that has the criminally insane.
Apparently, I mean, I haven't been to Illinois. Maybe maybe this is where they keep all the crazies.
Trevor, I have.
So confirmed.
Sucks there.
So yeah, we get a lot of macro shots of I thought it was a child's eyes. A lot of crazy inmates rolling around in their cells. Lots of shots of security cameras. We kind of very slowly piece together that we're in an asylum. Yeah. And then the first sign that we were in present day was a Tascam came out, like a digital audio recorder. I was like, okay. It's like it's not the 70s. And then some British people or people from the UK show up. And there's a gentleman with a beard that looks a lot like Walter Peck, who has no dick. And then a redhead, I guess. I didn't catch her name.
No,
but yeah,
they're inconsequential.
they are, but they're there for a very specific purpose. And you want to walk us through that, Kyle?
Yeah, so they are doing a true crime podcast. This movie has it out for podcasters, by the way.
I started laughing as soon as
I
they
started
mentioned
laughing as soon as they mentioned that. I'm like, God damn, okay. Well, what happens to them? I got a real good kick out of them. Like, who wrote this? They must really not like podcasters. If you've seen the trailers, what happens in the trailers. So they want to speak with Michael Myers. Loomis is very dead. He is no longer with us. And they're talking to a doctor, and he's like, listen, he's never talked to anybody. He's not going to talk to you guys. And he sends them out he goes out with them to the courtyard. And you've seen these shots from the trailers. It just felt it felt very futuristic, which made me a little concerned when I was watching the trailers. I'm like, I don't know about this, guys. What's with that Raccoon City Square that they have? It looks like something from the Resident Evil movies.
It looks like I'm about to do a push puzzle or something, or a pressure trigger puzzle of some sort.
And he's like, oh, you guys can go out there, but he's not going to say anything. Stay away from that line. Like, do not cross that line. If you cross that line, his pulse is not going to give above 70, even while he eats your tongue, basically. So they go out there, and they're basically just trying to provoke him, which I feel like you're not supposed to do to the insane, nor the criminally insane.
Yeah, and the doctor's like supervising their visit, and he's like giving them nods. Like he's like,
allow it.
Go for it. Yeah, the whole time he's just like, I'll allow it.
That's fun.
He's like, Michael, you a bitch. And he's like, I'll allow it.
Yeah, so I guess that Night of Murders has really made him, since we don't have the other movies, we're just treating this was just some crazy killing spree that this guy went on and has never talked about it at all. And we're living in a time where we're actually learning quite a bit about serial killers. I mean, we have a whole documentary about Ted Bundy, which
There's a fucking movie coming out in like a couple months here,
which is also going to be on Netflix. But the Bundy tapes or whatever it was, very fascinating.
Let it be known, Kyle, ladies like serial killer stories.
It's crazy.
I don't have a single lady friend who doesn't listen to serial killer podcasts.
I don't know what it is. Desserts and true crime docs.
Well,
Ladies love them.
I think, like, psychology is like a really hot topic among our generation. And
yeah.
Like, I think it's just encountering psyches like that. They're so irregular and just impossible to understand. It's confounding, but it's also like alluring in some ways. Because, like, this makes no fucking sense, but it happened, and this person lived it, and you can't... It's like a car crash. You can't look away or something.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to say the doctor who they meet up with, Dr. Sartain, Dr. Satan. Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan, who looks like Dr. Wiley.
He does.
He looks like Dr. Wiley. I'm sorry. He's Dr. Wiley, and that's what I called him in my notes. He is a protege of Loomis's. He's been working Michael's case for decades.
He looks like if you mash together Gary Cole and Hagrid. That's what I had in my mind. Gary
You're
Cole,
a wizard, Michael.
Gary Cole.
Oh shit, Michael Myers with a magic wand. Holy shit, you don't want that. He'd figure it out, man. The way this guy figures out automobiles,
dude,
he would figure out a magic wand.
We'll get into what my theory on Michael Myers, because there's only two things that Michael Myers can be in this movie.
No, for a man who spent essentially his entire life in an asylum, he's very handy with an automobile.
I don't even think the motherfucker's seen a microwave.
No, he probably has not.
Never seen a microwave.
If he's seen one, he hasn't handled it.
And he figures out a panic room trapdoor. Come on, man. I think he would just be staring at a TV. Like, what the fuck is that? That's a flat screen TV.
That'd be funny. He gets an iPhone, and that's what prompts the head tilt in this movie.
I mean, football is in full swing on Halloween, guys. Like, he'd be sitting down watching football on a flat screen.
He'd be watching, like, MMA or something and be like, what is this? I need this in my life.
But yes,
I just wanted to say the courtyard that they go out to visit him in, if you didn't see the trailers, it's like a white and red checkerboard.
Yeah.
And it's like super open air facility with like ultra blue skies. It's very pretty to look at. Like,
It is
wherever
very nice.
this is,
It's aesthetically pleasing. Yes.
aesthetically pleasing. I don't know where this was shot, but whoever scouted it did, a great ass job. And yeah, while they're out there, Mr. Walter Peck, the British gentleman with the beard, he reaches into his satchel, and he has Michael Myers' original mask. He just has it. He got
Billy
it from
Shatner
the State
himself.
Department. Yeah, he has the Bill Shatner mask that probably smells awful.
Awful. Absolutely terrible.
And he holds it out to Michael. He's standing like with his toes on the line. And the whole time, all the other inmates in the courtyard are flipping the fuck out. It's a very noisy scene. It's unnerving as all hell because there's like a dark force power like rumble, like Darth Vader just walked down the hall or something.
Oh, they're migsing. They're straight up. Like,
yeah, they're all migsing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the rest of that, but you know what I mean.
If you get the reference, good for you.
Do you think he licks the inside of the mask? Like licks the lip hole, the mouth hole?
I mean, I'm sure he does. I've never seen him eat. He's probably dehydrated and like.
He does a lot of sitting and waiting. He's got to be sitting there bored, like, looking inside of the mask a little bit.
I'm picturing, like, you folks at home can't see what Kyle just did, but just imagine Leatherface doing his lip business, or his tongue business, but Michael Myers with, the deep, dark eye holes where you can't see it.
Yeah.
Or he's going, bop, bop, bop. Or blowing spit bubbles or something because he's bored waiting.
Sweaty on the inside.
Oh god, he must stink. He has to stink.
Yeah.
But yeah, the British gentleman holds out the mask. He asks him he yells at him to say something, and then bam, title. We get our title card, and then we get our title sequence. And you sounded pretty excited about this. So how about you?
I like it's a decayed jack-o'-lantern, and we get like a reverse time lapse of it coming back to jack-o'-lantern, which was kind of fun. I had a chuckle in my notes here. I wrote down love the titles, but I was scratching pretty quickly while watching this, so it looked like love the titties. I added a T in there that I didn't cross, so yeah, it didn't.
I'm not gonna.
I know. Now I know why.
Say anything about
they did that sketch on Saturday Night Live. Like, yeah, I get that now. Yeah, I like the classic font. I just like the jack-o'-lantern in reverse. I thought it was. I'm like, that's a nice idea. And it's very similar to the original title sequence, which is literally just a jack-o'-lantern with a candle inside, just kind of glowing while the title sequence goes.
Yeah, it's a slow zoom on it, but this is done, like you said, in a reverse time lapse. It's a smooshed pumpkin, and then it turns into a jack-o'-lantern.
Classy, I like it.
And I like that they do the full credits for most of the cast, where it's like so-and-so as so-and-so. It's very old-fashioned. I kind of like it. I dig it. And the highest praise I can grant this film is recruiting John Carpenter to once again do the score. The man knows his way around a synthesizer. I'll just say that much. He knocked it out of the park with this. I know that's been his passion in recent years. He hasn't directed a film in quite a while, but I guess he does concerts and he composes music, and apparently hire this man. Like, give him more work, because I would love to hear it in other stuff.
I didn't even know he did the music on this. Jeez.
Oh yeah,
I did not catch that.
And he did not phone it in. He made some new compositions. Some of these tracks are like great stuff that it's like, yeah, that was worth it. So after the title sequence, we cut back to the British people. They're driving in a vehicle, and the whole time the British guy's like talking into his Tascam, into his digital audio recorder, and he's like speechifying. He's basically recording the show, and he's clearly kind of frustrated that he didn't get anything out of Michael. So it becomes evident through their conversation that they are headed to see Laurie Strode, because she was like the chief survivor of Michael's night of terror, second night of terror.
What did they think? What did they think they were gonna have to provoke him that psychiatrists and doctors didn't think of? Like, what did they have? They had nothing except for, why did you do it, Michael? You didn't think he hasn't been asked that before? Oh,
Well, the reason why I started laughing when it became apparent that they were podcasters was I was like, wow, this is like some millennial hate shit, because this just stinks to high heaven of something that could actually happen. Just a couple of young idiots like wanting to get some listens or some views or something and just fucking everyone over because of their arrogance or their disconnection from the material.
I'm a fan of podcasts, and we're realists with our podcast. Like, we are amateurs as far as the film industry goes. Yeah, and we do this for fun. This is fun for us. But these people are taking it very seriously. They're seriously across the pond in Illinois trying to interview a guy who was a mass murderer.
Well, it needs to be said that when they're at the facility, they actually refer to themselves as journalists.
Yeah.
It's not until they're in the car together that they make mention of a podcast. So I think they're aware that podcasting, it's like, we're not quite there yet, where it's like a respected like news source.
If you want to see what podcasting can do for something in real life, is watch the documentary about the serial podcast. I forget what the guy's name is. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not going to say it. But the guy who was supposedly wrongfully convicted for killing his girlfriend back in like '99. The serial podcast basically shed light on that case, and then the documentary was covering them trying to reopen his case. And no spoilers, but the 4-part HBO docu-series is pretty good.
Well, see, that's kind of cool, because I wasn't aware of that, but I would not be surprised if that story was what inspired these characters.
It's very possible.
During the writing process for this film, it's like these are people who, like, in some way are like crusading for something. It seems apparent that they're not 100% pure in their intentions.
If they were like psychologists who had a podcast and they wanted to get, if they were like behavioral psychologists and they were trying to get down to the bottom of a case that like no one's ever made progress on, like we have no idea why this guy did it, that I would understand. These two are just podcasters and they're trying to get a cool story.
Yeah. So they arrive at the Strode compound, and it is a compound.
She is straight up Sarah Connored out.
Yeah, actually, in my notes here, by the way, they only get the gate open by offering her $3,000.
Yeah.
My note here says, Laurie's compound would make Burt Gummer proud. Burt, as in the Tremors guy with all the guns.
Yeah, I remember him.
So when they get to the house, we get this quick little editing sequence. It's pretty cool, where we get to see Laurie undo all of the locks on her door, of which she has many. And the sound editing, the sound of like the bolt snapping and like her moving the metal bar and everything, like very good sound editing. And there's all throughout this movie, actually, there's a lot of good wood texture sound and metal. And this was the first time I noticed it in the film, and it carries on throughout the entire thing. And I was like, tasty. And actually, I even wrote that. I was like, is this a sign of things to come? Are we going to get some metal smashing and some wood smashing later? But yeah, they come in the house, and they start trying to conduct an interview. And at one point, the gentleman throws out a question, is he real? The boogeyman. The boogeyman being, I think that was like the last quote in that first movie.
Yeah.
About
it was
when they're talking to her.
It was the trope with the kids. She was like, "Oh, the boogeyman's gonna get you." Then like, we saw the boogeyman, and there's like no such thing as the boogeyman. And then at the end, Loomis is like, "Who was that?" That was the boogeyman.
Yeah. And so that's his opening question, basically, and it's like, "You son of a bitch! Like, where is your tact, sir?" It's like, look at this woman's house.
Dude,
like, clearly it's on her.
You think she wants to revisit that night?
She's not quite over it yet.
$3,000 be damned. I don't think she really wants to just dive into it. Maybe ask for some tea, a little hospitality, get her guard down a little bit. She's almost sitting there cross-armed, like not looking at them. Like, yeah, I'm just going to start asking her about that night that clearly traumatized her.
Yeah. So it's during this exchange of dialogue, actually, that we were introduced to the details of the retcon for the story.
Yeah.
Because he talks us through everything about Michael, and it becomes clear that, Michael only went on a rampage twice. First being killing his sister, and then second being when he escaped the asylum and came to town in 78. So it spells it out to us, the audience, that all those other sequels did not happen. And he also makes mention of the fact that Laurie has had some failed marriages and a daughter that got taken away from her by the government when they were about 12.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Laurie hasn't had a great life up till now. Ever, I guess.
Ever. So, yeah, they ask her... Go ahead.
I was just going to say they want Laurie to confront Michael. And there's actually a ticking clock here. It's kind of interesting, where I guess Michael is being transferred to another facility that evening.
Never transfer the criminally insane. Don't transfer.
Do it.
Never do it.
Buses and insane people just do not mix.
Jesus.
Seriously, every time this man, I think literally every time this man has been on a bus, it's crashed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like literally, he's been on 2 bus rides in his life.
They've crashed both times. So yeah, they want her to confront him, and it kind of sets her off, and she's basically asked him to leave. She's like, "Give me my money and get the fuck out. I got to go be crazy for a little while." But did she talk to her granddaughter first before we get introduced to everybody else, or do we get introduced to everybody else?
We meet the family.
Yeah.
And I started rolling in my seat because The Wiz is the dad in this movie.
Toby Huss.
Yeah, the Wiz being the gentleman from Seinfeld, who Elaine recognizes from somewhere, but she can't quite put her finger on it. And it's from a electronics store commercial where he's a mascot that's the Wiz, and nobody beats him.
I was thinking it was the Cherry Banaka clown. I was having a space there.
Oh, Crazy Joe Davola.
Oh God, that was a great episode.
That would be great. It's like whoa,
Toby
Crazy Joe Davola versus Michael Meyers. He'd be throwing kicks and stuff.
That's scary. That would be too tense.
Actually, they'd probably just like team up. They'd come to an understanding.
Toby Huss, I always get excited when I see him because I never see him anymore. He has a real funny viral video from probably like 10 years ago by now. It's a little realtor bit. I'll send it to you. Great stuff.
No, I'd love to see it because I've seen him in tons of things.
Oh yeah,
he's always very funny. In fact, he's very funny in this, even though he's kind of like pushed to the back for obvious reasons.
You just need a little comic relief.
Yeah, and he's actually legit funny in this.
Very funny.
When he's playing with the yo-yo, and even in his very first scene here, where we meet him in the kitchen, his daughter snaps at him a bit, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go clean up this peanut bar," and he just leaves.
I was legit I was laughing pretty hard.
Yeah.
Judy
Greer.
Yep,
Mom is Judy Greer.
Cheryl or Carol from Archer, if you're familiar.
I am now, thanks to you.
Yeah, you need to get on that second season. New season comes out next month. And then the daughter, I don't know who the daughter is. She's new. I don't really.
I think she is actually very new. Actress's name is Andi Matichak.
Sure.
As
Allison.
Allison. And she, I can't remember exactly what event we're trying to get the family together for. It's like an honor society, something or other.
I ain't know nothing about that, so.
Yeah, me neither. This is why we do a podcast.
This is probably going to be down. We should talk about the relationship. So,
yeah,
they're pretty tight knit family. But the daughter asks her mom, like, "Hey, did you invite Grandma?" And it seems like mom and grandma haven't talked for a long time. I'm not quite sure if they've been visiting through the years, but I don't think she's been real close with her. And Judy Greer.
At this point, we already know that Judy Greer was taken from her mom when she was 12. So
I don't know how much time they've spent together.
Exactly. I really liked what Judy Greer did here, where Allison asks her, like, "Did you invite Grandma?" And she just goes away for a second. Like, she's just staring off into space, and you actually see her like roll her eyes for a second. It's like, Oh, sorry, I wasn't there for a sec. It's like almost like at the mention of mom, she just spaced the fuck out, like as like a defense mechanism or something. It was impressive. I really like Judy Greer.
She's great. But she lies to her daughter. She's like, no, I invited her. I tried to get a hold of her. She can't make it or something like that.
Well, she uses agoraphobia as an excuse. She's like, grandma doesn't like leaving the house.
She probably doesn't. That's not a lie. But
I mean, she got everything there. Shit. So why would you leave?
It's a compound, yes.
So Allison takes off in a huff, and she goes walking down the street with her two friends. There's a blonde gal and a guy with a goofy hat, a deerstalker cap or whatever. Typical teens. And they start talking, and Allison makes it known that she knows that her mom lied to her because she called her grandma to invite her. Independent of mom. So there's some tension in the family here, especially on the female side of things. And the dude starts making mention of they start discussing Halloween 78 about why grandma's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And the dude draws attention to the fact that, it's just a night where a guy like stabbed a few people. Why is this such a big deal? And I mean, by today's standards, I guess he has a bit of a point.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's like, awful shit happens all the time, and we're all too aware of it, unfortunately. But it's like one of those things that, he's saying what a few people in the theater were probably thinking.
This is a moment that I really appreciated in this film because I thought that I saw these two. I'm like, I can't wait to watch these two die later. I learned early on with this character that she's straight edge. Her two friends are smoking some Wade before school, and I'm like, okay, well, they're probably going to die. And then the boy takes some fireworks, and he throws them in a jack-o'-lantern first thing in the morning. Fuck this kid. And he sets the fireworks on fire. I'm like, oh, that kid's so going to die. Like, I was just like, I'm going to watch him die later. They don't die. This is the only time we see them in the movie. Is this?
Oh, that's not true.
They might pop back up once later.
We'll get to it, but
yeah.
We'll get to that. But that was actually funny because while you were watching the movie, I think that's like the one thing you texted me was that some kid just blew up a pumpkin in this movie. He is so dead.
Yeah, he's so dead.
And yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, the kid just blew up part of the franchise iconography. He is dead.
That's Welcome to Horror Movie Missteps 101. If you are setting fireworks off in a horror movie, you are going to die later.
Well, it's like if you walk onto like a native burial ground, don't kick the headstones. Like, what are you doing?
If you're gonna have sex with your boyfriend while you're supposed to be babysitting, you're not gonna see November 1st.
Like, no joke, man. It's simple rules. Like Jamie Kennedy told us. Like, everybody's a suspect.
Everybody's a suspect.
I did actually get a little bit of a chuckle though at that scene because they go from talking about this heavy shit about the stabbings in 1978 and how bad stuff happens to people all the time, and then there's no transition between him talking about that to blowing up the pumpkin. Yeah, I was like, that is such a teenage fucking thing to do. Yeah, just like there's no transition. Just like his attention span just is that much. Where in mid sentence practically, he's just like, oh, boom. Yeah. It was pretty funny. And then we get to the school and we get to meet the boyfriend. I didn't like this kid right away.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of the kid. He's in the Fantastic Beasts movie. He's in a lot of stuff now. Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't know the kid's name, but he just looks like a younger version of him.
Yeah, he's with Allison. They make out at her locker for a second. This sequence
Ezra Miller. He looks like
Ezra Miller. He's the fucking Flash, man.
Oh yeah, he is the Flash. He's pretty good as that. I liked him as Flash. I'll give him that. It's fine. From what that movie, it was a dumb movie. He was fine.
He's just like, for now anyway, he's just like young guy. He's like Jimmy Fallon parallel. Kind of like in some ways.
He's got these Fantastic Beasts movies, and I think it's gonna be kind of slow after that.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, they're making out at the locker. This whole sequence is shot very tight, like faces.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then the kid
and then
with
Angus shows up.
The biggest fucking head I've ever seen on a human being. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was calling him Angus. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Angus Bethune. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breathing Angus, yeah.
So yeah, long-haired Angus shows up, and he smooches both of them. And they're like, oh no, don't do that.
And, they're doing an interesting thing in this movie. We're not we're towing. We'll get to it. Sorry, let's keep moving. We'll get to it.
So Allison's in class, and out the window we see Laurie doing her cross-armed stance outside the window, which is maybe a little bit creepy.
It's creepy.
Yeah. And Allison, presumably after class, between classes, I hope, she goes out to meet Laurie, and they're standing together, and Laurie just very casually hands her the $3,000, and she's just like, granddaughter, go, be, do.
Don't save it for college, go blow it on stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's straight up what she tells her. She's like, spend it on whatever your heart desires. And actually, she encourages her to leave, just go away. And you get the sense it's because I did mention there's a ticking clock. Laurie is all too aware that Michael is being transferred tonight.
Correct.
And maybe she has like a bad feeling about tonight.
Yeah.
So she's telling Allison, get the fuck out of Dodge. And then right after this, I think we cut to Laurie locking and loading. She got some guns. Quite a few guns. You know, a lot of that business. And we get this neat little montage where she's cleaning and loading her guns. She's practicing on the range. She has a bunch of mannequins. Put a pin in that. And then we also see the British folks in their tiny motel room, like studying their materials about Michael. And then we get to see the inmates being loaded into the bus. So there's a lot of action happening concurrently. And there was a really cool shot in here that I appreciate of Michael in profile. Michael's face is on camera a handful of times in this movie, but it's always very quick cuts. Very similar to how they did in the first movie, where there's that one sequence where his mask is off, and he just like very casually puts it right back on. It's kind of cool. But there's a really great shot in here where we get to see Michael in profile, and we see that his one eye is fucked.
That was awesome. I
was
really
like, that if you're going to pay like respect to the continuity from the first film, that's a good thing to do.
There's some that they kind of they do a little too on the nose.
Yeah,
like
the knife in the wall is too much for me.
The knife in the wall, and then like, oh, you're the new Loomis. I'm like, oh, fuck you, the new Loomis.
No, I'm sorry, you're not Dr. Satan.
Dr. Satan. No, the eye thing. I was like, outstanding. Yes, good job. It was brief. It was like you almost missed it if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, you very easily could have, because it was only a few frames, but whoever did the makeup did a good job. Because I noticed it, and I was very happy to see it. Folks at home, if you aren't aware, Michael Myers got jabbed in the eye with a clothes hanger.
Yes,
in the first film.
And it's the only time we ever see his face in the entire franchise.
Yeah, he gets poked in the eye, and his mask fumbles off, and like I said, he just kind of casually just like puts it right back on. Yeah, and that's part. We may as well get into a little bit of slasher talk here.
Yeah,
to me, that's always been like the concept of the character, is that he's described as if he's Bruce the Shark from Jaws. He's a killing machine.
Yeah,
he is an unfeeling killing machine. He doesn't have any passion invested in what he does. He just does it.
Yeah.
And that's like always been the difference between him and like the Jason Voorheeses and the Freddy Krueger, where Freddy Krueger obviously revels in, playing with his food a little bit. Jason, especially in like the Kane Hodder days, he was pissed. like he just did not like those kids.
I think that Leatherface was far more upset than Voorhees, because
you think?
Yeah, Leatherface was screaming the whole time.
But he'd do his little weird dance and stuff, though.
Did you see that fat bastard sprint? He was not even winded.
Gunnar Hansen, I think.
Yeah, he's like. I mean, he's just been eating pork. He's just been eating pork in Texas, and the man could sprint like Usain Bolt, like with a chainsaw, mind you.
See, if he didn't have the chainsaw, though, imagine how fast he'd be. He'd be doing the T-1000 arms.
Yeah, no breathing.
I think he's going 30. But yeah, so after this montage, we go to dinner with the family, and this is a special occasion because Allison's bringing the boyfriend to dinner in a public venue, and Grandma's supposed to be there, but she's not there. So they're having an awkward dinner where Dad's being a dad.
Oh, he's dadding out. It's great.
It's pretty fucking funny. And
He's
Judy
getting
Greer is
bored.
trying. It's funny seeing Judy Greer try to be the straight man in the room because she's good. She's very good at it, but at the same time, it's like you're a funny lady. I know you got something.
If they were gonna do a live action Archer, the two people that could actually, three people that could play their characters, and I would believe it, would be the guy who does the voice of Krieger, Lucky Yates, Aisha Tyler, who does Lana, because she actually looks very similar to Lana, and Judy Greer. I would love to see as a real life Cheryl, because I feel like she could just knock those jokes out of the park, just be like an aloof rich girl, an aloof billionaire basically. But yeah, it's right there. Like she could be funny in here, but the dad is going like borderline, like he's teetering on racist here, talking to the kid.
Well, the kid, like the way we're introduced to the scene is, if you're listening closely, the boy mentions that he's like part Cherokee. He doesn't quite know what percentage, but he's part Cherokee. And then the dad mentions like, oh yeah, I hung out with him. And I actually wrote it down because I was laughing pretty hard. He says, yeah, trip balls out in the woods, me and his dad.
Yeah.
Peyote. Yeah, he said, yeah, his dad used to sell me peyote. And Judy Greer is just like, it's enough sharing for one night, honey.
Grandma was out in the car shotgunning whiskey like Bad Santa. Oh, no. Yeah, because she just saw Michael get onto the bus, I believe.
Gam had a bit of an emotional breakdown while sitting in the parking lot of the asylum. And
yeah.
She did not shoot him as she had planned on it.
No.
And she ends up showing up at the restaurant instead. And it's like, oh, Gam, what are you doing here? And she shows up and is awkwardly just standing while everyone else is sitting, and she just helps herself to, I think, Judy Greer's wine.
Yeah.
And Judy Greer like verbalizes that, Mom, I thought you don't drink anymore. It's like, oh shit, this is awkward. And as soon as she sits down, though, she starts to bawl. Like she breaks fuck down.
Yeah. She saw
him. It was heavy. Yeah. Like I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure you, like, most families have moments like this where it's like, this is bad. Like there's some stuff. This is like when you graduate from the kids' table kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, these are relationships that are multi-layered and are built on a foundation decades deeper than you've been alive.
No.
So it's like, I don't quite understand what's happening, but I know it's really bad.
Yeah, and they're young. Like these kids are still in high school.
They're teenagers.
Anything like this yet? They don't know the inner workings of how families work just yet. They're like, oh yeah, my mom and dad are happy and nice, and I just want to do my own thing. Like, no, mom had to go through some shit. So
yeah, and actually, this is where this is explained to Allison, where we cut from, Jamie Lee Curtis having an emotional breakdown. She's selling the fuck out of it, by the way.
Doing a really good job.
Yeah, she came to play.
She's excellent in this movie. Strong, like we were saying today, like it's hard to find movies with strong female leads. This has got two. I mean, we'll see the second one a little bit later, but Jamie Lee Curtis is rocking shit in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, I've always liked her as an actress, and she, they took some arm twisting, I'm guessing, to get her to do this, because she's attempted to distance herself from the franchise several times, but she came to play.
This is a breath of fresh air. I feel like she could appreciate it.
I think the script is what got her to come, where it's like, this is not a half-assed cash-in attempt. This is like a sincere attempt to make a decent movie.
I think they sat in a room and they're like, okay, if we can get Carpenter to do the music, if we can get his trust, will you do the movie? Or vice versa, like if we can get Jamie Lee to do it, will you do the music?
Yeah, I'm sure they told each of those parties exactly the opposite. It's like Jamie signed up. Like Jamie Lee's all
good cop,
about
bad
it.
cop in it.
Yeah, and then
your friends are in the other room talking right now. They're telling me everything.
Exactly.
Why don't you save yourself some time and tell me what you need to tell me?
So we cut from the restaurant to the parking lot, and Gam drives off in her big ass truck. And Judy Greer tells us, like, she's kind of staring off into the middle distance watching her mom leave, but she's talking to her daughter, talking to Allison. She's saying, like, now you see why Gam Gam isn't around all the time. Like, there's a reason why I don't like having her around all the time, because this was my life. And we actually get a really cool little montage. Show don't tell, Kyle. of her as a child, essentially being trained to be Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
From childhood. And,
it's literally John Connor, and because that she was training John. They mentioned that T2. They're like, she was training me to be this great military leader. Yeah.
Yeah, she's female John Connor, but trying to fight a serial killer instead of Terminators.
Yeah.
Skynet. So the main thing you're supposed to take away from this is Judy Greer may be the Christmas sweater wearing soccer mom, but she got an edge. She got an edge. Put a pin in that. And then we cut to this dad driving his very, very young son to go hunting, like, in the dead of night.
Oh my god. Okay.
I was like, what the fuck is this scene?
So, I was gonna mention, like, we kind of touch on sexuality a little bit in this. We explicitly don't touch on sexuality in this movie.
We skirt just around
we are getting so close to it, and we just get around it. There's
nary a boob in sight.
We're doing something completely different with this one, and I appreciate it. It works. We have a young boy. I enjoyed this conversation, him and his dad, and he's like, Dad, I don't like to go hunting that much. Like, I'd rather be doing dance. And the dad has the opportunity, like, they had an opportunity with it to just be like, oh, that's for pussies. He's just like, is it that important to you? And just the conversation between the two of them was great. And then we get to, I think we might have to do an episode on horror movie fuck-ups. Now, this might be the crown jewel of the biggest fuck-up I've ever seen in horror movie history.
Really?
This man who is driving with his son at night come across a bus with grown men in clearly some kind of jumpsuit associated with a correctional facility.
Bright white, by the way.
Bright white, which if it's not orange, you should be even more afraid, because it probably means the criminally insane. In my note, I forgot about my note down here. I said, transport the criminally insane. Sure, the Joker needs goons to recruit, because we come up on this bus, and I'm like, that's the Joker's these are the guys the Joker recruits, basically.
Well, I mean, it's either the Joker's goons, or it's like a morgue attendance convention or something. The bus pulled over on the side of the road.
This fucking bus is, of course, crashed. I mean, what were we expecting? I think this was in the trailer too, so
it's very good shots.
The
use of fog and lighting in the fog is quite good.
Very good. This dad, these people are just kind of walking, very creepy, like kind of past the truck, and the dad's like, I'm gonna get out and see if these folks need some help. I'm like, dude, has there ever been a time to go 20 miles over the speed limit through something? It's this.
At the very least, stay in the car
with your child.
Child.
The best you could do is, like, kind of keep driving and, like, crack the window, like, hey, are you okay? Or just, like, look at what was on the bus, or get your phone out and start calling, like, hey, there's a bus crash down here, and there's a bunch of crazy people walking around. Yeah.
Yeah. This was a little stupid. Major fuck up on the part of Dad and his son, but so Dad says, stay in the car, son. I'm gonna go investigate, see if anybody needs any help. And he tells his son to call the police, which he does. And that's a pretty good 911 call for a little kid, by the way.
Very good. He
puts it together. He's very concise. I'm like, damn, I wouldn't be able to do that.
No, that's I was thinking that same thing. I'm like, this kid's calm. He's confident. He's handling this really well.
Yeah, but Dad's gone for a little while, and some crazy people start getting too close to the car, so the kid starts freaking out a bit, and he's also dumb. I mean, they're of the same bloodline, so I get it. So he gets out of the car too. And,
Hang on a second. We might be moving on to Jurassic Park quotes. No. This father and son had their shot, and nature selected them for extinction. Okay. We might be moving on to Jurassic Park quotes.
There it is.
There it is.
So, dancing boy, gets out of the vehicle with his hunting rifle, and again, pretty cool lighting out here. The headlights pick up on the fog really well, and I think we get our first jump scare of the film.
Yes.
The boy comes across a guard who is laying flat on the ground, and he nudges him with the butt of his rifle, and he goes, blah! And the kid's like, I'll get help. And the cop's like, no, run. Just go. You don't want to be here. He basically just tells him, run, go, get to the chopper. And then I think the boy ends up getting onto the fucking bus. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Out of your mind? Yeah.
Are you out of your mind? And another great shot, there's the bus, and the headlights are illuminating what looks like wheat or tall grass of some sort.
Yeah.
And he gets on the bus, and this is a low budget film with a synth score, so we need to have some blue tinged lighting just for shits and giggles in the bus. I didn't realize the bus was sponsored by Virgin Airlines or something, but and then we get jump scare number 2, 30 seconds after the first one, where Dr. Satan pops out from behind the seat and says, "Don't shoot!" And the boy shoots him.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
I had a good laugh at that. Yeah.
Blad!
Bam! Yeah, right in the chest.
So, boy runs back to the car. He didn't find his dad, by the way.
Oh, no, he did not. His dad.
And Michael's in the back seat. And Michael grabs him by the throat, from behind, and it's kind of a lame death, but it's child death, so I'm happy.
Yeah, you don't need to go too in depth on child death.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be said right up front. The violence in this film, most of the gore is post. It's it's after the fact, so we get to see the aftermath of the bad shit that happened,
which can be very effective. And honestly, if you're gonna kill a kid, give a good kid scream, because that's chilling. You don't need to see anything. Have the kid scream oh fuck you, that's not good.
Actually, that's another way you could have gone about it. Is just have him grab him from behind and then cut to an exterior of the vehicle and just hear the scream and then cut it.
Do you remember the Gladiator when Joaquin is trying to get a rise out of Russell Crowe, and he's like, they say your boy screamed like a girl, and you're like, oh, you can just feel the hate flowing through you, and you want to strike him down with your lightsaber. That little bit, just even mentioning a kid screaming is enough to get you going. That's heavy.
That was pretty great, and I think he called his wife a whore too.
That kind of just blew right over, because when he talks about killing your kid, you're like, okay, all right, I'm gonna kill you in a minute.
Yeah, he killed him good.
He kills the fuck out of him. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
That was a good fight.
But yeah, the child gets grabbed from behind. I think he just snaps his neck, kind of. He bumps his head against the window for a bit, and it's just dead. But it's on-screen child death. I'm always happy to see that.
Sorry, my notes real quick. I said, I just want to dance, Dad. Looney Bus. What the fuck? Dad. What the fuck?
You should be writing summaries for IMDb.
Prison jumpsuits in a wrecked bus. Let's check it out, huh?
So we cut to a convenience store, and this was I couldn't help but think of Die Hard when I saw this scene.
Like at the end of Die Hard 3?
No. When Reginald Vell Johnson, when he's buying his Twinkie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're introduced to a cop at a convenience store. I couldn't help but think about it. But
they're for my wife. She's
Sheriff.
Pregnant. Yeah.
Bag it. Big time.
Bag it. That's great.
Sheriff Will Patton.
Mm-hmm.
Always welcome. Big fan. He is playing some pinball. And the people at the convenience store are unimpressed with his pinball abilities. But he gets the call, presumably from the child, relayed to him from the station. Yeah. And he's off to investigate, right away. And he arrives on the scene almost immediately. and he finds some bodies, and there is a pretty savage fucking neck break here. Not on screen. It's not. We don't see it happen, but we see the aftermath, and this dude's head is put in a position he probably doesn't want it to be in.
That's when I perked back up. I'm like, okay, this is like the movie was keeping me engaged, and then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, now we're picking up. All right, here we go. See where this is gonna go.
And then Sheriff Will Patton does some more investigating. He gets on the bus, and Dr. Satan is on the ground, and he's been shot, so he's not in a great state. And then I think title card, October 31st.
Yeah.
Again, call back to the first film, because there was like a countdown, if I remember, from up to Halloween.
Yeah.
So the British people, the podcasters, they are at a graveyard. They go to visit Judith Meyers, her grave. Judith Meyers being Michael Myers' sister, who he murdered when he was a child. They record some material at her headstone, and we see in the background that, oh, hey, Michael's here. And he's still in his white uniform from the asylum. Side note, if I'm remembering right, and I'm sorry, I might not be, one of the things I always thought was really stupid in that first movie was when he moved the headstone. Doesn't he put like his sister's tombstone like in somebody's house and like in their bed or something?
So he does, if I remember correctly, I think he moves the headstone into the his old house. I think he
you're
puts
right.
it in the basement. It's been
I
a
seem
long.
to remember it like being put on a bed where one of the dead bodies is.
Yeah. It's the girl he strangles with the telephone cord post-coital.
Yeah.
They were. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think they all
Every
are.
death in that movie was post-coital. Let's be fair here. No, she was the one with like the pigtail sticking out the side. I think she was in Carrie as well. That actress.
Yeah, I always thought that was. I mean, like this is another thing that's actually like become a staple of the character. Is he does, as much as he's portrayed as being unfeeling, at least the way Dr. Loomis talks about him anyway, he does have a little bit of a flair for the theatrical. He's big on displaying trophies almost. And even in that first movie, like putting up that headstone, that's like, damn, like you killed someone decades ago. Good for you. Like I just want to remind everybody that I did that. Yeah. Like just so you know.
I had that one good hit back then.
Yeah, it's like, if you're doing my kill count, make sure you include sis. It's like, I know it was a while ago, you might have forgot, but yeah, she counts.
I'm glad you mentioned that Michael was at the cemetery with the podcasters, because my notes watching this, I'm like, how the fuck did he track them down at this gas station? I missed that shot where he was at the graveyard. I'm like,
well, maybe he is as fast as Leatherface.
Seriously.
Well, again, it needs to be said, this man knows his way around vehicles. I'm sure he was hot wiring shit. Like, he probably had, like, a motorcycle or something. But we cut to a hospital where there's, I want to say he's, like, a marshal or something. He's got the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. He's also in Eastbound and Down. And if you remember him from Road Trip, he's the giant dude that plays the joke on Kyle, where they put the Ku Klux Klan mask in his suitcase. I don't know if you've seen that movie in a long time.
I have not.
But, he's pretty funny, and down as
no,
well.
he stood out. I liked him. His outfit alone was pretty cool.
He's lost weight too. He's looking skinnier now.
He's getting ready for a Marvel role or something. Working his way up. So he and Will Patton are at the hospital together, and they're swapping notes, because they have Dr. Satan in a hospital bed there. He's been in and out apparently all night. And Will Patton happens to have like the ledger from the bus crash, and he points out to this gentleman with the cowboy hat that Michael Myers was on this bus, and he's unaccounted for. And 40 years ago to the day is when he stabbed a bunch of people. And the gentleman with the cowboy hat's like, yeah, that's worth noting. Thanks for pointing that out, Sheriff Will Patton.
Yes, thank you.
By the way, they refer to the 78 incident as the babysitter murders, which I think is kind of cool. And then we get the gas station, where things really start to pick up a little bit. again, trailer shots.
Yeah.
A lot of trailer shots actually from the scene. Understandably so. Pretty good sequence. But the Brits pull into a gas station. The lady heads to the loo. And while she's asking where the restroom is, we see in the background Michael giving some poor soul the ground and pound. Like, oh my God, he's going to town on this guy. He's still in his white jumpsuit. And it's kind of a cool scene because he's far enough away that it's muted. We don't hear anything of the action. And we just see her having a casual conversation with a cashier. And we just see this old man beating the shit out of some guy that's off screen. And important thing to note here is that when they pull into the gas station, they're fiddling around the trunk. They still have his mask.
Yeah.
And it's in the trunk. So she heads to the loo, and she's popping a squat.
Yeah.
And then somebody in a dark jumpsuit with, I want to say like steel-toed boots almost, like leather soled, comes in and starts doing that awful thing where they start like pushing open the stall doors, like looking for the not fucked up one. And it's Michael, by the way.
Yeah, obviously.
So do you want to walk us through the scene, Kyle? Because I actually thought this was a standout sequence in the film in a lot of ways.
It was a good sequence. I like where the guy goes up to the lady in the van, and they ask her for something. And they're like, I'm not.
They
sure
don't say anything. She just. It's
she
actually kind of.
It's really creepy because
It's really creepy.
She just gives like a quick little like she doesn't even it's not even a gesture. It's like she just kind of moves her eyes real quick to like over there, like almost like she's in shock.
Yeah, she's in a van that it's like the Resurrection Church, which I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference to Halloween Resurrection. For the love of God, I hope not. But it's this dingy van, and there's this old lady, and like Kyle described, she and the British guy make eye contact, and he like gives like kind of a embarrassed like hey like with his eyes, and she just flicks her eyes to the side, and nothing really comes of it, but it's definitely creepy.
It's enough of a gesture for us, the audience, to get like she's trying to tell him something. And for him, he's just like, that was weird. It was a weird interaction.
She's trying to tell him, don't go in there. Somebody blew up the toilet.
I was really pulling for these podcasters, and then when I saw him come in, I'm like, oh, these podcasters are dead.
Yeah, you're in a small confined space, and it's early in the movie, and he hasn't killed anyone on screen yet, other than the boy.
But they leave enough with this scene to make you think that they could get away, because I'm like, they're not, like, they're capable of escaping at this point. Like, it's not that far of a distance, and this is of course the teeth. He takes the teeth over, like she's being so polite. He's like banging on the door trying to get, like, somebody's in here. This is occupied, and she's not having a panic attack.
You knew she was gonna die because she rolled her eyes at him. I think he saw that through the crack in the door. He's like, "Bitch, don't you roll your eyes at me."
Does he kind of look in there? I think yeah. But yeah, this is where he throws the teeth over the side, which as soon as I heard that one door kick in, I would have already had my pants up. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
This is. I'm like,
he's not knocking. He's slamming doors and stuff.
Now this doesn't. They don't show this in the original, but in the Rob Zombie remake of the original, I was gonna send you a GIF if I could find it, but I couldn't. But the black guy who he's in some older horror movies in the 70s.
Is that Ken Foree?
Yeah, he's
from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, he's in all those Rob Zombie movies. Yeah, but that's who it is. The guy's like trying to break in. He's like, hey, I'm busy in here, man. He's just being real nice about it. And he comes out and he's like, you know who I am? I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. Like, he's gonna fuck him up. One of the funnier moments from that movie, if any. But yeah, Michael Meyers gets a hold of her. She starts screaming. Her partner comes in, and they have a little bit of a.
They have a tussle, but
they have a tussle.
Before he gets in there, what prompts him to head to the bathroom is he finds the cashier dead, as well as somebody in the garage, the person who was getting the ground and pound, who was face down dead in the garage. And the cashier's jaw has been put in a position again that he'd probably not like to have it in.
I forgot about that.
So he grabs a crowbar and he's like, okay, it's time to head to the toilet. And he gets there just in time because she and Michael are having a scrap. She's doing the thing where you're crawling between stalls. And it needs to be said, like, I don't know if he's like lost a step because he's getting old or something, but he's like, he hasn't quite found his rhythm yet.
No, he hasn't found his rhythm yet.
Yeah, he needs to limber up, you know. So he's got her by the ankles, and she's flipping the fuck out. And then the gentleman comes in, and they just kind of like stare each other down. And damn, Michael's got a chin. Like he takes a crowbar to the face.
Yeah, I mean that's
he no sells it. Like he's just like, nope, not taking that.
I've seen dudes that like take a crowbar to Tank Abbott. That dude's not. He's gonna knock the shit out of you.
Tank Abbott versus Michael Myers. Make it happen.
I'm just saying, like, it seems like it wouldn't be that believable, but I'm like, if you take a crowbar to Tank Abbott's head as a grown man, you're about to die because it's not gonna phase him. And if you survive, you're gonna need a dentist, someone to basically reset your jaw, if you survive that. So I can. It's a nice touch to where Michael Myers is not inhuman. He's just hard to knock down.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's not. I mean it is kind of beyond the realm of possibility, but it is. It gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. Where it's like, yep, that didn't work. So Michael goes to town on this guy, and I actually really like the choreography of the scene because it's very sloppy. It's very naturalistic. It doesn't feel choreographed. It just feels like man trying to kill people. And so his weapon of choice in this case is just grab by the collar and put forehead into wall over and over and over again. Yeah. And I'm guessing he fractures this gentleman's skull, the British guy.
Concussed. He's concussed.
He's a little shook up. He collapses in a heap in the corner, and he's not dead yet. He's somewhat conscious. I mean, maybe. But his face is still moving, and his eyes are open. I don't know if he can see. But then Michael turns his attention back to the British lady, and he just picks her up both hands around the throat, like literally holds her up off the ground a few inches, and just chokes her to death. And I was like, that is a very utilitarian kill. Points for that, because it's just getting the job done. It's not like taking pleasure in it. It's just like, stop moving. Just shut up.
He doesn't have an
die.
MO. It's just die. That's
it's just like, however I can kill you, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
quick. And actually, I was kind of surprised because I was taking notes. I may have missed something because I remember seeing her get zipped up in a body bag, but I don't remember the British guy. So for about 20 minutes after this, I was like, is he gonna come back? But I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's dead. He's quite dead. So immediately following their deaths, we get a shot of Michael headed out to their car, and he puts on his mask. So he is in full-on Michael Myers mode now.
It's Halloween, and he is in full Michael Myers mode.
Yeah, and Laurie catches wind of what's going on via an early morning news report.
Yeah.
Some people died at a gas station. She's like, well, fuck. And then we get the first reveal of her Batcave. She has a kitchen island that has a remote control that just like, it's on a swivel, like a motorized swivel. And the island like rotates, and there's a staircase. It's like
pretty
a little
cool.
Yeah, she has a Batcave. It's pretty fucking cool. It's full of guns.
So Judy Greer's getting back from the grocery store, and her front door is she goes inside, and the back door is open. Now, if you've seen any Halloween movie, this is a problem. This usually means that Michael Myers is about to slit your throat. But Judy Greer comes in, and I believe her husband, Toby Huss, comes into the back door. She calls his name and calls her daughter, Allison, Toby Huss. No answer.
The Wiz.
And then he just busts in real quick. He was doing yard work outside, and all of a sudden Jamie Lee Curtis from around the corner, boom, you're dead.
It was so juvenile. Like, it was like something a child would do.
It was so funny.
She's like, gotcha, you're dead.
Gotcha, you're dead. So yeah, she's walking around their house with a loaded gun. She's gone full crazy on them. So
Yeah, she's there to warn them. She's like, hey, you know that thing that I've been telling you is going to happen for like the past 40 years? It happened. So why don't you have a gun? I was like, I got mine. Where's yours?
And Toby Huss is trying to be very like he's very, very good in this moment. He's like, I need you to like, you can't have a gun in my house. Like he's trying to like de-escalate the situation. She's not gonna let him have the fucking gun.
Yeah, this was actually where I decided he was gonna die, is because he starts saying some stuff. I feel like almost every line of dialogue he has in this movie is like the audio levels are dropped, where it's just like you either hear it or you don't. It's just he was just riffing on the set, and they just let him do whatever the fuck he wanted because he's such a minor character to begin with. But he makes some mention of like, I can protect my family. And it's like, not in this movie. It's like, no, there is a protector in the room, and it ain't you, buddy. So as soon as he started like pull the dad card, I was like, nah, you're dead. No. Then I believe we get to the crime scene. So Laurie goes from her daughter's house, from Judy Greer's house, to the gas station. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's cordoned off because the police are doing their investigation. And Will Patton and Cowboy Hat Guy are there. And Will Patton and her exchange a look from across the police line. And they don't say anything to each other, but you can tell that when he sees her, he's like, we gotta, like, try harder. And then, really strange transition, we cut to Halloween night.
Yeah. I actually appreciated that because we could
I
have been
did
doing
too.
some dicking around.
I know. I was like, it was jarring, but at the same time, I was like, sure, let's get right to it.
How long was this movie? And that might have been why it kept my attention, because this might be a tight hour 45.
106 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty damn close.
That's pretty thin by today's standards.
I mean,
like
that's I know, but that's why. Maybe that's what it is. Like, we're able to actually enjoy some of these, like Venom. Like Venom wasn't that great. I'm like, Venom was under 2 hours long.
That's the best compliment you can give that. It didn't waste a lot of my time.
No, it kept my attention for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it needs to be said. 90-minute movies need to make a comeback.
I really like where we get... Now, this was something that happened at the beginning of the Halloween, the first Halloween movie, was we get Michael Vision, where he puts on his mask, and you see him go to the kitchen and grab the knife. And I can't remember if we do it at any other point. I don't think we do in that movie, where we get Michael Vision. We only see the back of his feet sometimes in the original. But Michael is getting the night going, and we get to him looking for a hammer.
So when I saw the trailers for this movie, I tend to do this, I'm sorry, but I see trailers and I try to like piece together a version of the movie that I would like to see in my mind. And what I was picturing was the majority of his rampage being done in
like
either one take or simulated one take. Because the way the trailer was pieced together, I got the sense that was. And they did do like a legit like 3 to 5 minute long take in this, like a master shot.
It's really good.
It's a very good tracking shot, but that's it. I was picturing like a situation where it's like we get to see him like just go ham across the neighborhood.
This is exactly the shot when he does his first kill in the first movie, because he sees the girl, his sister's boyfriend, come in, and he watches him leave, and then this is the whole that whole shot where he goes back into the house.
It is and it isn't, because in that first movie, the opener with him killing his sister is done entirely from perspective.
Yeah.
Very controversial part of that movie, actually, because it is unsettling to be put entirely in the eyes of the killer, but that it all pays off really well in that first movie, because we get to see the reveal when we finally cut away from his vision. It's him standing in front of the house, and they take the mask off him. It's like, oh fuck, that's a little boy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look guilty. But yeah, in this one, we get introduced to Michael on the streets of Halloween. There's some kids running around. They like literally bump into him, and the one's about to drop an F-bomb. and reconsiders when they see who's standing in front of them. And then, Michael's like, I need a weapon. And he just kind of turns his attention to a shed behind someone's house. Some really cool lighting here, cylinder lighting. And then he walks in, he grabs a hammer, and as soon as he retrieves the hammer and walks towards the house, I think is where the one take starts.
Yeah.
So when he has the hammer, it's a long tracking shot. Like I said, it's about 3 to 5 minutes as far as I remember. He just wanders into some old lady's house. She's in the kitchen. He smashes her.
Yeah.
Smashy, smashy, off-screen kill. Sound effects are not the best. This movie has great sound, but not that sequence. And then when he's in the kitchen, he's like, hey, she was like cutting vegetables. I may as well grab this knife. It's like, I was bored of that hammer anyway. So he picks up the knife. The camera follows him, and this whole time it feels almost like a video game because the camera is like tracking behind him at like a similar third-person angle as you would use in like a modern third-person action game or something. He heads back out in the street, and I really love the way they use the music, where it's like the rhythm of when the iconic Halloween theme like kicks into gear, matches the pace of his actions here. So he heads back out in the street. Some people almost figure him out, like it's a slutty nurse and her doctor husband or whatever, and she is looking at him and she's a little distressed, but her guy shows up with the car keys just in time that she forgets about, and they drive off. Really cool rack focus here where he does his head whip thing, and the focus like zeroes in on what he's looking at in time with his head movement. And then we get, I know you like reflections. Yeah. There's that shot where he's peering in the window, and then
I like that.
He goes in through the back door, right?
Yeah, he goes in the back door. This lady's on the phone, and you're like, you know what's coming, and you're just like waiting for it. And finally, she's getting ready to go shut the blinds. It's kind of cool because she's going up to shut the blinds as he's coming in behind her, and then she's dead.
He stabs her through the back of the throat.
Yeah, this whole sequence was just really good.
It's excellent,
really
but I mean, this was actually what's kind of amazing about this movie is that it's the budget here says 10 to 15 million. It does not look it. It looks far more expensive and polished. I really love the concept of the sequence. I just wish there was a bit more of it, because we got 2 kills out of that. Yeah, I would have liked to have spent some more time with Michael, especially since his relevance to the story starts, like, not to the story, but like his screen time starts to dwindle as we get further and further in. Yeah, it's like this is kind of like his shining moment in terms of on-screen action.
Well, we have to do something a little different. You can't do what the first movie did and just have it all be him and Laurie. You have to add in a few twists and turns here and there, which there are some twists and turns coming up.
Some that I'm not too fond of, but
yeah,
we'll get
it was. You know what? I kind of, with the ending of 10 Cloverfield Lane, throwing in a twist that is like, whoa, what? Like, just completely. Did not see that coming. I'm fine with a twist like that in a movie that's supposed to be ridiculous. Like the ending of that movie, I'm like, it was a good movie, and then it had a crazy ending. I'm fine with that. I was okay with the twist in this, and it kind of helps add to the story, but we'll get there. This is going to be a long podcast.
But sorry,
this was a fun movie. I had a lot of fun watching this.
No, I had a lot of fun watching it. I'm having a lot of fun talking about it.
Yeah,
but
that's the other thing is, this is like, we've talked about movies like, I can't remember a thing about this movie. I watched this movie one time with my notes, and it's all like right. I can still see it right there.
It's a pretty streamlined movie. There's not a lot of fat to it. The tone does get a bit confused sometimes because it has that fucking super bad humor every once in a while. Yeah. You need to remember this is made with young people in mind.
Oh, can we get to the school party? Is that our next step?
Yeah, actually, we cut this. The next note I have here is cut to the Halloween dance.
This is the Halloween dance? Irresponsible thing I've ever seen. One, no, schools do not have a Halloween dance.
I was about to say,
I'm not allowing that.
No, fuck no. That's so dangerous.
Halloween is a time where you can wear things that you wouldn't normally wear. That's what it is. You don't get to wear it all the time, and that can mean different things for different people. I nerd out a little bit more with my Halloween costumes. I try to get creative. I went as Happy Gilmore one year just using my friend's wardrobe because he's a Bruins fan and he works construction. So
Very nice.
Actually pretty easy. But yeah, this is nuts. They are having a full-on high school rave.
Not an adult in sight.
No adult in sight. I'm like, this party's happening. It's not happening at a school. But this party's happening somewhere.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, teenagers are gonna teenage, but
they are chasing ecstasy with whiskey. I mean, this is downright dangerous.
Yeah, and you know, some like I don't know about like what the standards are these days, but some of these costumes at my school, you'd get a talking to. Like
we had the thing like, if the teacher goes up and she puts her hand above your knee, she has to have a hand length.
Tiger lady. Shit.
Yeah. the dude that her boyfriend is making out with.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Tiger Girl.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, Tiger Girl. Shit. Yeah. No. Not in 2005. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. If I were on ecstasy and drinking and that girl was making out with me, I wouldn't even be apologizing to my girlfriend. I'm not even sorry.
It's like Allison. Yeah, Allison, I don't think you understand.
You should be proud of me.
I just got some of the Tiger Girl.
Oh man. So yeah, they're just an irresponsible. There's children doing drugs and drinking. I mean, I'm okay with kids drinking and smoking pot, but once you start mixing in pills and powder and shit like that, that's not good. But I had a joke I wrote that at the front. I'm like, this movie does the opposite of what horror movies did, which was like the good girl makes it. Like in that first Halloween movie, Laurie doesn't have sex, she doesn't drink or do drugs, and she's the one that comes out as opposed to her friends who all die. In this movie, they promote sex and drug use because the boyfriend is drinking and taking ecstasy, and he's making out with this other girl. He doesn't get it. There's a couple of her friends that are about to have sex. They don't even get to have sex. They get to dry hump for about 2 minutes, and then they both end up dying. So I'm like, this movie actually promotes having sex and doing drugs.
Yeah, we need more men like him. I mean, that's what you do. Michael's like got you cornered. Just pop some pills, and he'll just be like, well, I mean. It's like, I lost interest. I'm sorry. Like, this kid's too fucked up to be scared of me.
So she catches her, like she figures out her boyfriend's on drugs, and he kisses the Tiger Girl, and they have a fight. I don't know what the fight is about. It doesn't matter because they're in high school. But the coming through to the other side of this, they have a fight. The watermelon head kid. He sees it. The girl's phone. He takes the girl's phone, Allison's phone, and puts it in pudding, I think, and destroys it.
He put it in the pudding. And then they just kind of like, he does like a what now, and she's like, I don't know. I guess I'm leaving. And he's like, fine. I'm gonna go make out with Tiger Girl.
Yeah, keep that up, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he got her on deck. He's happy. So, most important thing that came out of that is her phone is now in the pudding.
Yes. And
she leaves with Angus, watermelon head, as you call him. I call him Angus. So before this exchange, though, she was on the phone with her friend, the blonde girl from the sidewalk conversation earlier in the film, who it was really it was kind of disarming, actually, because they did a clever thing, and this was all in the writing and the performances. You would think that her shithead stoner friends, would be, typical slasher movie victims, where it's like you and I both correctly point out that, oh yeah, they're dead, which is true, but at the same time, they're not so much him, but the blonde girl, was very likable.
Yeah,
she is being a babysitter instead of being at the Halloween dance, so she's being responsible. And she has this little boy And their exchanges are so fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
I liked the chemistry with the kids.
their chemistry was great. Like I was legit laughing. Like they had a fun relationship. And it needs to be said, the lighting and the production design in this house where she's taking care of the boy is Blumhouse the fuck out. Like,
this whole sequence is really I enjoyed this whole part.
So she's putting the boy to bed, and he's a little bit scared because he thinks something's in the closet. While he's supposed to be asleep, she's getting her boyfriend to come over, and they're going to smoke pot together. The boy is aware of this, by the way.
Yeah.
So the boyfriend, who is the guy that blew up the pumpkin earlier, dead meat.
I thought he was a different kid. I thought that was a different guy. I didn't realize it was the same kid.
It's the same too from the earlier portion of the film. But
I knew it was the girl. I didn't know it was the same guy. But yeah.
He shows up dressed as a farmer. He got himself a tattoo that we don't see at this point. But he's like, he is ready to fuck. We don't quite get there, unfortunately. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, the two of them, again, like the chemistry between him and her is like, she's like kind of like a perfect little punk rock girlfriend. Like they have like a goofy dynamic here that kind of works.
They're the type of couple that I knew in high school that I know are married right now and have kids.
Yeah, they're like actually happy though. Like,
yeah,
like they don't hate each other or whatever.
I knew one couple like this, and they're still like that.
Yeah, no, I was kind of disarmed by that. Whereas I'm so used to watching these trashy slasher movies where it's like you hate everybody and you want to see them die, but these ones I was like, oh, they're kind of cool.
It's unfortunate.
So we get a jump scare where the boy. I'm sure this kid was psyched to do every take of this scene because he like jumps into the stairwell and he's like, "Ooga booga, it's the boogeyman."
Do you remember that first Halloween with the Rob Zombie remake, where the girl playing Judith Meyers, who is very attractive, is dating that disgusting little shit with the long hair? If you don't remember, just look up those two. It is baffling. Because it makes no sense, Rob Zombie. That's the dumbest casting I've ever seen. It's really gross. But this was good casting. These two match up a little bit.
Yeah. So the boy jumps in the stairwell, and he's yelling about the boogeyman. And he is asking for the blonde girl, to come investigate. And it's really cute here, actually, because he's, like, asking for the guy, actually. He's like, get David up here, and like you actually see the guy like kind of like sheepishly look away, like, maybe not me.
I'm gonna go outside.
But the girl, she volunteers to go upstairs with him, and apparently, she's used to doing this, being a babysitter and all. And she goes up and she's gonna investigate, and she goes in there and she starts like having like an oh god no, like get out of here, like good acting here, where it's like it sounds like she's legit talking to someone, but. She jumps out from behind the doorway and says, blah! Because she was just playing. She was playing with the boy. Meanwhile, stoned boyfriend, and it's important to note, he is stoned. He is checking out the shed, and he just helps himself to a fucking motorcycle?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being young and just not really thinking like, dude, you can't do that. Don't be messing with people's shit like that. But
it's a motorcycle. I
know. It's really...
blowing up a pumpkin in the beginning of the movie, you're dead. Yeah. Like starting up somebody else's motorcycle at somebody's house whom you were babysitting for, fuck, you are super dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his lady is having a tussle with Michael Myers, who was another trailer moment. He was in fact in the closet, and they kind of spoiled it with the trailer. Actually.
I know. I was just thinking that. I'm like, it was a really cool idea. Because if you had not shown that in the trailer, that would have been like a legit, like, oh, fuck, he's actually in there.
Yeah, she's trying to shut the closet door, and it won't quite go. And so she opens it, and he's just like, hey.
He's just standing there.
He's just standing there.
Runs out of there and does not look back. I'm proud of him. That was a good move.
He actually tells the guy on his way out the house,
like,
you go upstairs, you're gonna die.
I love it.
It was pretty fucking great because he straight up tells him, like, if you go up there, you are going to die.
You are dead. D-E-D, dead.
I didn't like her kill.
No,
that's just my opinion.
They could have done it a little bit better.
They lost some points right away with some CGI blood, because when she opens the door, he's just like standing there like a statue, and then he just like takes a swipe at her, like a downward swipe, and he catches her like on the inside of the forearm or the wrist, and the blood spray is done digitally. I can tell. It's cheap. And she like fumbles around, and she's laying down. She's like she's like holding onto the banister or something on the stairwell, and he does. This man, does he have like an ankle fetish or something? Because he grabs a lot of gals by the ankles in this movie. Now that I think of it, like 3 different gals get grabbed by the ankles in this movie.
That movie, the Visit, M. Night Shyamalan made. I think it's really good. But what he does is he creates suspense by kind of playing towards, for me, childhood fears. There's one sequence where the lady is in the room and it's dark, and her hand is coming up from underneath the bed on top of the bed, and it's like, oh fuck, that was one of the scariest things. I think that whenever you're running or trying to get away, something grabbing your ankle is probably like the scariest thing that could happen to you. So maybe they're just trying to play to that.
Need to remember too, like I always forget this, these slasher movies are made for teenagers.
Yeah.
Made for young people. I'm not a young man anymore.
Yeah, that doesn't scare me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
But you're right. This would have been a good time. Like you could have like amped up the gore a little bit here, like gotten a really good, like maybe he does slash her, but like maybe across the belly, spilling her intestines or something like that.
Blink,
but just
blink.
like not even like spilling it out, but get like that. Like maybe he's like dragging her shirt gets ripped a little bit, and you just get that slash across the stomach where you're like, oh, that's a oh shit slash.
Well,
like, that's not staying in.
I mean, I think what they were trying to do with the style of violence, at least I thought, until we get a head smash later in this movie that's pretty tasty.
Yeah, it's
what I thought
tasty.
They were trying to do was pay homage to the original, because the original movie's not gory at all.
No, it's not at all.
It's not very bloody even. So her death is delivered entirely off screen.
Yeah.
He's got her by the ankles. The boy runs up halfway up the stairs. He's worried about her, but he's not worried enough that he's going to try to like physically help her.
No.
He will witness her death, but he won't intervene.
Yeah, that's what you want to do is go ahead and get a look at the person you just let die.
Yeah, that's going to help you out. That's going to help you out a decade from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the way the shot is conducted is it's a close-up of Michael's face and him doing the downward thrust action, and we just get sound to tip us off that she did. It actually reminded me a bit of I don't think you've seen this. No. New Nightmare.
No, I haven't
Wes
seen
Craven's New Nightmare. You know, it has a bad reputation, but I happen to really like it. Maybe because it was the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie I ever saw.
I have heard that there are sequences in there that are like really terrifying, like actually scary.
Not necessarily terrifying, just more creative.
But the movie as a whole is awful.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think it's enjoyable.
That's just what I've heard.
But there's a I think like actually the first, well, not first, but one of the more impactful deaths in the movie in New Nightmare is paying tribute to the girl on the ceiling death in the very first Nightmare on Elm Street.
The girl on the ceiling was Johnny Depp. Oh yeah, the girl on the ceiling. That's right.
He's the guy in the bed. He's the guy in the bed. There's a girl on the ceiling.
I remember that. Yeah.
But the way they do it in New Nightmare is particularly effective because there's a child in the room bearing witness to the entire spectacle, and the two characters have developed an emotional attachment to one another that is pretty effective. And I was kind of expecting that in this case because, like I said, I was kind of charmed by both of these characters and their dynamic. So I was like expecting like some big spectacle where it's like the boy's like in anguish or like paralyzed in fear, and like the girl's like, you keep thinking the girl's gonna get away, but then she doesn't. And it's like, oh fuck, that's mean. That's just mean, man. but no, it's an on-screen death. It's very tame. And then I believe the scene actually concludes with the boyfriend. Like I said, the boy runs past him, tells him, "You go upstairs, you dead." Yeah. Boyfriend, stoned, by the way, yeah. He grabs a knife and he decides to, I guess, confront Michael. Yeah. Good plan, buddy. And then we cut away, and Will Patton arrives on the scene, like literally on the scene, like the same location.
Yeah, we get a nod to the OG here. Another one. This one was effective. I'll allow it. Will Patton goes into the house and he makes his way through and he goes upstairs, and this is always scary, but it was especially scary here, where there's somebody sitting in a chair, and if you remember from the original movie, there was a gag that one of the boyfriends used with a sheet trying to be a ghost with the glasses, and Michael comes back after he kills that boyfriend, and he basically tricks her. But yeah, you're sitting there and he thinks it's Michael. Will Patton thinks it's Michael, and he's really hesitant to go the sheet off of this. And who's under the sheet?
The blonde girl.
The girl is okay. Yeah, because the boy. The other nod to the OG is the boy is stabbed up through the wall.
Stabbed with a kitchen knife, suspended above the ground, like impaled against the wall. Although in this case, he is facing the wall. So So he's facing the opposite direction than the original. And this is also when we see the tattoo he got, which is the date, Halloween 2018.
This kid's also like 40 or 50 pounds less than the boyfriend in the original. Like the guy in this movie is a child. Like he's a kid. Like he's smaller. The guy in the original was like a 35-year-old man.
Yeah, Michael was probably like, oh shit, that was easy.
With the girl's death, there could have been an opportunity to actually display like Michael's strength. Like you could have like seen him, like you said, you just see him slash, but you could have seen him gone like full. Just crazy on her.
One thing I don't know that we've ever seen in a Halloween movie that I can recall anyway is Michael killing more than one person at a time. I can't recall an instance where he had a victim who was not isolated.
No, they're always isolated, and it's always really easy. Like he's never the only time I've ever seen him struggle was like you said in the bathroom scene at the beginning of this movie. He's never had to struggle with a victim. It's always just been...
See, that would have been kind of cool, actually. Like, right? I would have liked to have seen that. Like, he's busy with one, but it's like, oh, shit, there's someone else. What do I do here? Like, It would have been interesting to see how that would be choreographed. Like, how would you keep this, like, just emotionless killing machine handling two problems at the same time? Because like there is some decision making that needs to happen there. It's like would he expedite the killing of the one, or would he be like, you stay put, I'll be back? The ghost sheet thing was kind of funny because there's some funny instances of this in even the original film, like I said, with the tombstone, where there's this weird theatricality thing that's going on here with the supposed killing machine character. Because that ghost sheet, he had to cut the holes in that sheet.
Yeah.
So he had like an arts and crafts minute here at the house.
Well, he's been in an insane asylum. I think all he's been doing is arts and crafts.
And reading like auto mechanic manuals or something. So I think Will Patton actually catches sight of Michael here, and Laurie arrives on the scene, and this is kind of a funky sequence. So both Laurie and Will Patton, Sheriff Will Patton, take some shots at Michael, and I think Laurie sees him when he's in the house, and she shoots a mirror, thinking it's him.
I knew it was a mirror. I'm like, Laurie, it's a mirror. It's a mirror. 3 times watching, like, it's a mirror. It's not him. It's a mirror.
Yeah, and Will Patton just straight up misses, but if I remember right, Laurie actually like clips him. Like she actually shoots him at distance, but she's an old lady. She's not going to give chase.
No, she's getting up there.
And she and Will Patton like bump into each other physically, and she almost shoots him, by the way. And at this point, it's confirmed that they know each other somehow, because they know each other on a first name basis. So we get a little bit of a jump forward in time, like probably like, I don't know, an hour maybe. And now we have a crime scene at the the boy's house where the 2 babysitters were killed. And now Dr. Satan is awake, and he's been brought to the scene.
Yeah, this is where we get the "Oh, you're the new Loomis" line, which was really stupid.
Yeah,
that's probably my biggest the thing I hated the most was that line was "You're the new Loomis."
For the people that maybe aren't as attached to the franchise, or like folks that need to be. This movie's for me. It's just like shorthand to like make sure everybody's on the same page. That yes, this guy is standing in for a character who's infinitely more interesting and well acted. Because Donald Pleasance was fucking amazing in that first Halloween. More importantly, he was essentially the main character of that first movie. Because Laurie was just a survivor. Like, she got a lot of screen time, but in terms of character, she's just kind of there.
No, I mean, she's...
Whereas he's the guy delivering all the exposition. He's the only guy that knows what's going on and what the danger is.
They split it. I'd say that Laurie is still the main character. I'd say 60-40 towards Laurie. But Loomis is very much a part of that movie. Yes, he's the one tracking him down, looking for him, exposition and everything. But this is where we find out where Dr. Satan is just kind of a Michael Myers fanboy.
Oh, he pops such a stiff boner when he sees Laurie.
Which I thought was kind of like that. I didn't really like that either because he was like, "Oh my God, you're Laurie."
The moment he did that, I was like, "You can't trust him." Like,
it was. Well, it makes more sense as the movie progresses, but at the time, I was like, "That's fucking weird." Like that, I thought it was kind of a dumb touch. I'm like, "Is it that big of a deal, dude? Really?"
Well, I mean, he does say that he's been following his case like for decades.
I mean, it's not as obvious as Alien Covenant, where David just no. Come with me, Billy Crudup.
Yeah, take a look at this alien cabbage. Yeah, it's a new breed of cabbage. I made it in my basement.
I kind of want to rewatch that movie.
Just put your head right over it. It's like an Instant Pot, When you're venting the hot steam, you want to make sure your face is right over it. It's perfectly safe. I swear.
I still really love the ending to that movie. The movie itself is meh, but I like the ending.
If they follow it up, if we get a crash landing ship full of aliens, that would be pretty fucking cool. I've been saying this for years, man. They just need to fucking make the Aliens vs. Predator arcade game where just a ship crashes in the middle of a population center. Aliens in the middle of LA. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be
It's just like or the ship like actually docks because he's still on the ship, so he can like navigate it, and it just docks, and they're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of organisms on there. It's like, let's open the doors, aliens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Fassbender, he needs to kung fu fight some aliens because he kung fu fought himself in that movie, but I need to see him hitting some
That's
aliens.
why it's that fucking flute. I forget about that flute. That's what does it.
He helped him adjust the fingering on the shaft.
The thread with the thread of that is really good. Like, they had such a good idea. The flute is stupid, but like I said, the ending is great. But anyway, let's get back
from
to
a special effects standpoint, it was kind of cool seeing 2 people sitting opposite each other with a rotating camera. It's pretty technical stuff. Very technical.
So now we get to, I think, probably one of my favorite sequences from the movie, as far as awkwardness goes. This is where...
yeah, this was good.
This Halloween costume this kid's wearing, I could not help but think he looks like Scotty from Boogie Nights. He actually goes
the
full
hair,
Scotty.
I mean...
He goes full Scotty on her, too. So, yeah.
Oh, yes, he does.
He's, so this fathead, he has been, like, kind of playing the best friend angle on both sides. He's friends with her, he's friends with the boyfriend. Is he gay? Is he straight? We don't really know.
We don't
matter.
know. Yeah, he's kind of ambiguous in that regard.
Yeah. And he's walking home with her, and, well, wouldn't you know it, they're not together anymore, so he decides to make a move. Big mistake. Not only is it not the right time, bro, but you look like Scotty from Boogie Nights right now. Like, you could not be any more repulsive to anybody. Like, it's so gross. But yeah, I'm like,
Angus. Shit. Yeah, I got a good laugh out of that because he kisses her and she just gives him like a whoa, what the fuck?
Whoa, no. And he kind of comes on a little bit more too. Like after she pushes him away, she has to push him away a couple times. So
he's caught doing a fish impression, like.
They hop some kind of fence, and I think he's got some beers with him. He's pretty fucked up. I think he blames it on that, and they hop over a fence, and I think he falls down, and she keeps going. I think she gives him the finger or something. Like,
Yeah,
hey.
he took her to a graveyard to make out with her.
Not cool.
I'm sorry, she doesn't seem like the type. and there is a type. But yeah, he does confess that he's pretty fucked up, and his ramblings here are actually quite funny. Funny stuff. I'm not sure if it was improvised or written, but either way, it's legit funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
She runs home basically, and he's just sitting there with his. I think he still has a 6-pack on him.
Yeah.
And he sees a figure. That's Michael, by the way.
Yeah.
Standing in the fucking bushes, just staring at him, and he thinks it's the owner of the property, and he starts like saying like, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'll be out of here in a minute. I'm
having a bad night.
I'm having a bad night. I just got like verbally kicked in the balls. Give me a minute to collect myself." And they have this gimmick here where the motion sensor light turns on and off, and every time it turns off and then turns back on, Michael is in a different position. And because of the way he's positioned, the Angus can't quite make out that is a masked man that's just fucking staring him down. And then it builds to a certain point where it's like it's getting kind of legit creepy here, and Michael takes a swing. I think he nips him pretty good.
Yeah, I think he gets him.
Yeah, and
He's
Angus
going
takes
to get him.
Well, yeah, no, it's inevitable at this point. You can't miss that dome. I mean, Angus takes off running, and he's like trying to hop the fence, and it's one of those like a cemetery like spiked fences, we just spiked at the top, and he's hung up on there, and Michael comes up behind him and just stabs him through the back.
And he's screaming, but he gets Allison's attention. She's like, "What are you screaming about?" or whatever, and he's being like legit like slaughtered like a pig.
The best part of this, and I don't think the incident itself was on screen, but when his body goes limp after he's stabbed through the back, his body drops and his chin gets impaled on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty tasty. Again, it seems like all the extreme violence in this film, for the most part, is after the fact, so we get to see that on screen, but we don't actually see the act of it happening. So yeah, she sees that and she runs.
Yeah.
And then I think Will Patton and Dr. Satan, Will Patton and Dr. Satan have been driving around town trying to find her, because Laurie has everybody on alert now, and she's like, "I got to get my girls under my roof right fucking now." Will Patton, you're gonna help. I think at some point during all this, it was revealed that Will Patton was actually the man who was responsible for preventing Dr. Loomis from killing Michael during the original 1978 incident, which is why Laurie knows him. It's kind of a weird little detail. I'm not sure I needed that, but it's there. And Laurie brings the whole family to her house, and it's at this point, I'm guessing she'd been wearing it for quite a while, but it's at this point that I noticed that Judy Greer is wearing a Christmas sweater.
I didn't even notice that.
She's wearing a Christmas sweater on Halloween. I don't know why that is, but but yeah. And we get this interesting little scene where Laurie has Judy Greer, her daughter, and the Wiz in the basement of her home, and she's arming them. Like, she's just like handing them guns. Yeah. And Judy Greer, again, credit to her, she's doing this thing with her face where you can tell that she's like just so deflated. Like all the things she's been running away from have caught up to her, and she just has no fight left in her. She's just like, "Okay, Mom, like whatever you say."
Yeah, she's I'm not sure if it's a real thing, but I think I was watching How I Met Your Mother, and there's a thing on there like if you hang out with somebody from your past, you tend to revert back to how you acted around them. So maybe that's her just like the last time she was with her mom for this long, she was kind of scared. So maybe she's just kind of reverting back to that scared child. Like,
Well, I've seen it with my family where there's that dynamic that's existed for longer than you've been alive, and it's really strange to see it in people you think of as fully developed adults. But it's like, no, everybody has a mom and a dad, and they forever will be your mom and dad. So at this point, we hit Michael with a car.
Yeah, and then the cop hits Mike, and then this is where the movie takes a turn. So he hits Michael, which you and I both know means that Michael's only going to come back with full force. He's nowhere near dead. Actually, it probably helped him out a little bit. But the doctor then kills Will Patton. I'm like, what the fuck is happening now? Do we have Allison at this point? Is Allison...
We do. Allison is in the back seat. Will Patton is driving around. He just sees Michael casually wandering the neighborhood and says, "We're doing this." Yeah. And he hits Michael with the car. Straight up. I was like, that is some good copping. Good job, policeman Will Patton.
That's illegal.
Maybe a little bit. Dr. Satan... he goes to investigate the body, and while unbeknownst to Will Patton, he pulls out a surgical instrument of some sort, although it's like a switchblade surgical instrument.
Something like that.
I don't know what the fuck this is, but
I want to see this guy's diploma. I don't think
it's
like
a spring-loaded scalpel, but like gold-plated or something. I don't know if he made it by hand or what, but anyway, he whips around and he stabs Will Patton in the chest, and then apparently slits his throat, again, off screen, but we get to see the aftermath. And Will Patton does not get up. He is dead. That is a ex-human. And we get an Ooga Booga scene where Dr. Satan puts on Michael's mask.
Yeah, that was not
That was cool, a little weird.
Yeah.
Again, very smelly. I don't know that I'd want to do that. But he's like mumbling to himself, and the things coming out of his mouth 10 minutes before this happened should have tipped off Will Patton that something was wrong, because he sees fit to remind Will Patton that do not harm him. He is a ward of the state or something like that. It's like, people are dead. But yeah, he is talking about having wanted to get inside the mind of Michael Myers, and obviously he hasn't been talking to anyone, so there's no real way to do it. So I guess this is his way of trying to do like a live examination of like a predator in the wild.
Yeah. Which is highly unprofessional, and if you are a mental health specialist, don't do this. It's not cool.
Don't do it. And he puts Mike in the back seat with Allison.
My notes say Mike too. You can't be writing down Michael, because is it AEL or is it, I can't remember, EAL? I don't know. Mike. It's Mike.
Mikhail. It's Mikhail Meyers.
So this is where the movie, this is where it starts to get a bit more fun. This is where it picks up a bit. And I've enjoyed the movie so far, but...
Bon Mi.
Say again?
Tell us about Bon Mi, Kyle.
Oh, yes.
Cop talk.
Now we have like a Quentin Tarantino moment.
We get some coffee talk.
Or a Guy Ritchie moment. This cop is schooling this guy. I'm like, wow, this was actually informative. We learned about the banh mi sandwiches and how it's actually a French Vietnamese fusion, and it basically just means anything. It's whatever you want to put on the baguette. And the guy's like, I bet you got peanut butter and jelly today, and I think that's what he has or whatever. But it's kind of a fun little sequence.
I was like, my note even says, "What the fuck movie did I just walk in on?"
You're
because these guys are like parked. They're supposed to be in front of the Strode compound, but the lighting out front is like the Evil Dead remake. It's the hell dimension where everything's bathed in red.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, Laurie, I guess that's the lighting you decided to go with. Cool. It is pretty cool, but Michael in the backseat starts to stir, and there's interesting little thing going on here where Allison is trying to talk her way out of the car by telling Dr. Satan, like, hey, Michael told me something. I'll tell you what he said to me if you like pull over. And Dr. Satan actually kind of like buys into it. Meanwhile, Michael is waking up, and he kicks the fence thing that separates the back seat from the front seat of a cop car. He kicks it down, and it smashes into the back of Dr. Satan's head, and Michael ignores Allison completely and gets out of the vehicle, pulls Dr. Satan out onto the curb, and we get the Dr. Satan death, which is the most graphic death in the entire film. Good head explosion. Yeah. A little too watery, if you ask me, but it's an on-screen head explosion. I'm happy with that.
A little more moist than I'm accustomed to.
I mean, you need more chunks in there. So, right before Michael dismisses Dr. Satan with a stomp to the face, we get a nice moment here where Dr. Satan actually is looking up at him and says, "Say something." He pleads with him, "Say something," and anything. And it's a fitting end for this character who's been shown to be a shitheel of sorts. The one thing that he wanted was to get inside the head of and maybe communicate with this killer. Never got it. Yeah, he was denied that. And so, it needs to be said, Allison escapes. I did think it was kind of weird that Michael completely ignored her.
Did you see? So yes, Allison escapes and she begins running through the woods, the most well-lit woods I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, no shit. And they did some. I mean, it comes up in a minute here, but there's some goofy shit in these woods. I'll tell you that much. But, so during all of this, Michael is, I believe, beset upon by the Bon Me cops, the two cops who were posted to defend the Strode compound. We don't see what happens to them, although we do in a minute. And a cop car pulls up in front of the Strode house, and the Wiz goes out to greet them. I think he has a yo-yo at first, but then he swaps it out for a gun. Good thinking.
This is where I went full Leo in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I go, Dad's dead. Dad's dead. Like,
just a little bit. He marches out to the car and he's asking, like, "Did you find my daughter?" And he opens the door of the car, and
this is pretty cool. This took some time.
Took some fucking time.
This took some time. This was arts and crafts time coming into play again.
How did he get that head off?
I don't know.
It's such a clean rip, and I don't even know if he had a knife at this point. But yeah, I believe it's a
flashlight. So he's
he's
pulled the dude's head off. He's also hauled out. Oh, maybe not even hauled out. So he's taken the dude's head off. So actually, this isn't that hard. So he's taken his head off, and he's stuck a flashlight into his throat so that his mouth illuminates. So he
made a man-o'-lantern.
Man-o'-lantern, yeah. He made a man-o'-lantern out.
And he put it in the lap of the other cop, who I forget exactly what he did to him, but he had some fun with him too.
He's dead. We'll just put it.
He's quite dead. They're both dead.
Yeah, and at this point,
and presumably he ate their sandwich.
I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, the flashlight in the head. I'm like,
it was neat. Cool, but at the same time, kind of wish I had seen it. I don't have a problem with seeing the aftermath of all these kills, but those guys, they're as expendable as any victim in this film could get. Those are the guys that need to get it bad.
Real bad.
So the Wiz backs up, and then Michael just happens to pop out from somewhere behind him, and I think it's just a Steven Seagaling. Like, it's nothing savage. He has a wire or something. He just grabs him from behind, snaps his neck.
Yeah, it's pretty lame for a Mike Myers death. It could have been better.
I mean, yeah, it's neck snap number 3, I guess. One of which was off screen.
Cheap.
Yeah, you gotta get some more creativity in there, buddy. And then Laurie and Judy Greer spring into action. Mostly Laurie. Laurie Strode.
Laurie.
She tells Judy to head downstairs into the Batcave.
The panic room, yeah.
Yeah, the panic room. They shoot each other a look. It's a good mom and daughter moment where it's like they give each other like a high sign or something. It's like there's something understood between the two of them that we're not aware of. And then we get another trailer moment. Jamie Lee Curtis posts up against the inside of her door. Like I pointed out, she has like 5 locks on it, so it's not going to be easy to get open. And this whole time I'm like, you might not want to be that close to the door, especially since it has glass openings in it.
Right.
And yeah, just like we see in the trailer, Michael pushes both his arms through the door and he grabs her, and
he is choking the fuck out of her.
Yeah. She looks fucking great after what he does to her. like I don't know if like your skin toughens when you get older or something, but the way he's bashing her head against that door frame, like, she looks pretty good after the fact.
Yeah.
So the way she gets out of this, and actually when I was watching the trailer for this movie, I was thinking to myself, like, how is she gonna get out of that? Because
he's got a pretty good grip. If there was ever a definition for death grip, that's what it was.
I mean,
right
her feet are 6 inches off the ground, and he's got both hands on her face. Like,
yeah.
He's got her. Like, usually that's it. That's the end of it. We saw what happened to the British lady earlier in the film, the vital young British lady.
Yeah, but the difference between that lady and Laurie Strode is that one of them is armed to the teeth.
Yeah, and she manages to prop up her shotgun at just the right angle, to the point that he kind of foolishly puts his palm over the barrel.
That wasn't smart.
And long story short, Michael's down about 3 fingers. And he very wisely retreats. And then we get a very long sequence wherein Laurie is investigating the house, and she has a very good plan here, where pretty much every room in this very large house has a mechanical shutter, like a heavy metal shutter that is switch activated, and so she clears each room basically, and closes the shutter behind her. So it's like, that room's done. That room's done.
The lighting in here is really good.
It's good haunted house lighting, yeah.
Well, because she's got the brights on the outside, so it feels as though it's being illuminated by the lights outside. There's no lights on inside. I thought that this end sequence was really good, because this whole sequence right here, just going through the house, is about 5 or 6 minutes. It might be longer than that, actually. It's drawn out. Well,
in like wrestling terms, this is when you let the match breathe a little bit. Yeah. This is when you let the audience build some anticipation. You don't go nuts and do all the cool shit, like beat after beat after beat. It's like, you need to let it breathe a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we get several minutes of screen time here where it's just an old lady investigating a house. Mm-hmm. No Michael, no noise. In fact, the silence in the scene was what made it work for me. Yeah. Again, very good sound design, like lots of wood texture sounds, and like every time she closes one of those shutters, it's like you have a feeling something's gonna pop out, because like that's a pretty good opportunity for him to like catch the door as it's like coming down and just like blah. Yeah. Never comes to that, but the whole time you're thinking about it. This is also where we get the stupid shit with the mannequins that I don't know why it's here. So we cut back to Allison in the most well-lit woods in the world, and she collapses.
The most well-lit movie woods I've ever seen, I think.
No joke. She like trips and she falls in Laurie's shooting range, and we get some snap zooms of like mannequins that she shot up, and then Allison screams. It's like, who the fuck would be scared of this at this point?
Well, no, Trevor. This is interesting because Michael Meyers especially, and they use this in Insidious 2. There's a very, very, very good sequence near the end of that movie where we have figures sitting, and we're looking for the one that's not the one that's supposed to be moving, basically. And the way Michael Myers in that first movie is that he sometimes has shots where you see him in the distance, like you weren't looking for him and he just appears. You're like, oh fuck, he's there. The mannequins are a good way to keep you guessing. Like, it's a good way to distract you.
Mannequins are creepy. It's science.
And this is also at the height of when she's in the woods. This is right in the middle of when Laurie's going through the house. So you throw that in. It's just an extra little bit, not jump scare, but it's enough to keep you on your toes. Like, oh fuck, that's not it, but it's still coming.
I guess, but
building.
At that point, the geography of the sequence, there's no way he could be there.
it doesn't matter.
So
you still have that silhouette.
She's scared. I get that, but we, the audience, can't possibly be scared because we know he's in the house with Laurie.
We know he is, but those silhouettes are still keeping us on our toes. We're like, I know it's not him, but like, fuck, okay.
Well, and I guess it's a good plant because earlier in the movie we did see her shooting mannequins, so they were telegraphed early, so they're explained. We know why they're there. They're not just there to be creepy. They're there for a utilitarian purpose. Yeah. And then when she's like readying up for Michael to show up, we also see that she has like them in storage boxes, like pushed up against the walls inside. Yeah. So they are a fixture in her home. I just didn't like the placement of that scene where it's like, are you seriously trying to unnerve me with mannequins in the woods? Like when there's a fucking crazed killer in the house 20 feet over there? It just felt like a distraction is all. Anyway, Laurie is investigating. She goes through some closets, which was a kind of a cool nod to the first movie. Because there's one of the most intense sequences in that film is her trapped in the closet with Michael smashing the door down. And there's a lot of like gotcha moments where she keeps opening closets and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. And then she opens one and the whiz, he's stuffed in the closet. And then nice surprise, and this did involve the mannequins. Is she keeps turning her attention back and forth between the closet and the mannequins behind her because they're human shaped and the shape is chasing her. And at one point we get this really clever shot where it's pretty much like a thigh to top of the head shot of the whole room, and somehow he just appears from behind one of the mannequins, and it's not the one you were expecting too. No, because the one has blood stains on it from his bloody hand obviously, but it's like the one that's off to the left, and he just like stomps towards her and it's like, oh, okay. Shit, yeah, it's going. And they have a little scrap here, and it's kind of a decent little scrap. He stabs her in the gut, and she does some hand fighting here and kind of puts him on his heels a little bit because he is down about 3 fingers. Yeah. And he did get shot a little earlier in the movie. He
got hit by a fucking car.
He got hit by a car. He's not in the best of health. He's also probably like in his 60s. And I don't know what sort of physical activities they let you do in the insane asylum. But long story short, they tussle. She gets stabbed in the gut. He tosses her off the roof, and then we get another funny nod to the first movie because he peers over the edge, and we get the grass imprint of a body where she should have been. And it's like, not there. So she's stealing his moves now? Then I think we get the final confrontation in the film, and it takes place in the panic room.
Yes. So this is where I'm like, this is going to be a mess. So now we've got
granddaughter and daughter are reunited.
Okay, so Judy Greer's down in the basement, and she's like, don't fucking come up for anything. She hears her daughter. She opens up the island panic door to let her daughter in, shuts it, and now Jamie Lee Curtis, I believe, is upstairs, and she gets down to the panic room somehow.
No. What happens here is Judy Greer and Allison, so daughter and granddaughter, they reunite, and they're both in the basement together, so under the kitchen island. They shut it, and Michael just kind of wanders in. He figures it out. He's like, I know where you are. And he straight up muscles the hinge off, so he like lifts the kitchen island and just turns it over. And Judy Greer is like crying and freaking the fuck out, and she seemingly like, she's very hesitant to do it, but she grabs a hunting rifle that has her initials on it. So apparently that was hers from when she was a child. She's in tears, and she's like pointing the rifle up the staircase that leads down into the basement. And she cries out like, I'm sorry, Mom, I can't do it. Yeah. And like a second later, Michael steps into the stairwell like, oh, well, I mean, if that's how it is, it may as well make my move. And then she does a flip moment where she just like her mother, gotcha. She raises the rifle and perfectly steady hands caps him, and we get kind of a silly shot where it's Jamie Lee Curtis like just like this slice of light on her face because she's standing in a dark corridor, and she says, "Happy Halloween, Michael." And she runs out and she like starts beating the shit out of him with like a knife and a frying pan, and knocks him down into the basement. And Judy Greer and granddaughter they run up past him while he's collecting himself. The man has just been shot and beat to shit with a frying pan in quick succession. He's probably a little frazzled. They escape, and then Judy Greer pulls a lever, and some mechanical bars close on the sole entry / exit of the basement, and Michael is trapped.
Yeah.
And they exchange words with each other, something along the lines of "It's not a cage, it's a trap." And I got a little bit of a chuckle because the way Judy Greer pronounces the word "trap" is trap. Trap. It's a trap. I don't know if she's from the Midwest, but I have a feeling she might be.
I feel like she could be from Minnesota.
It's a trap.
Am I imagining things? Doesn't Jamie Lee Curtis shoot at him from the basement at one point?
She does earlier.
Okay.
Earlier, yeah, she's shooting holes in the floor with a Winchester.
That's what I was confused.
Which is her rifle of choice when she's exploring the house. Kind of a weird choice. It's a very long rifle, yeah. And she does have like a sawed-off shotgun, but she leaves that in the basement, sure.
Judith Therese Greer Evans is from Detroit, Michigan, so she is from up north. So
it's a trap. I couldn't help but laugh at that. But also, our third ankle grab happens right before they close the trap.
Correct.
The granddaughter, Allison, she grabs a kitchen knife, the iconic kitchen knife, and stabs Michael, and he lets go. And so they seal the trap, and then I guess they had a bunch of gas mains just like rigged to ignite. So the plan, I guess, was to trap him in the basement and then blow up the house.
Yeah, because my note says Mike would not figure out how the island trapdoor would work, and then I go, why would you leave the panic room? Why would you leave the panic room? Like, oh, it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Headshot. Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it was a trap.
It's not a cage, it's a trap.
It's a trap. And then she sets him on fire.
Yeah, I had some strong objections to this, actually.
Yeah, you can't kill him by fire.
You can't kill him by fire.
Trevor,
sorry.
They're setting up. There's two ways they're setting up a sequel here. One, there's no way he died in that fire. You and I both know that he survived that.
I mean, they deliberately cut back to it, and the last shot we get of him on screen is him staring at them dead-eyed with the flames pouring into the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And he's unmoving. He's still standing on the staircase, like a few feet away from them through the bars. And then we get a shot of the basement, and there's no body. There's fire in the room, but I don't see a body nor a skeleton. It needs to be said, this is the most profitable slasher film in history.
There's no way
this cost at most $15 million and apparently made $254 million. We are getting another one. But I'm sorry, as cool as it is to see, this like multi-generational revenge tale, like seeing Laurie get like her revenge against Michael Meyers and like having her daughter be, redeemed in some fashion, like seeing all that was very cool, but you can't have this grand finale to this story arc and have it be by fire.
No,
because that's like, to me, that's the ultimate like letdown in terms of bad guy death. Like Die Hard 2, that plane that explodes. Yeah. Yes, it was cool seeing the gasoline like light up, the jet fuel like jump the flame and then go into the gas tank and blow it up. That was cool, but that's the least satisfying way to kill your bad guy. You need to have it, especially in this case, you need to have it be like personal in some regard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the ultimate deniability too. If nobody's there to witness the death and it's via explosion or fire, it's like, he's coming back. I hate to say it, but like Halloween H2O, I thought did it pretty well. Decapitation.
But the problem is that wasn't him. That was a security guard. But that would have been such a good. That could have been a good ending to it. Was him.
Well, that entire confrontation up to that point was satisfying too, because we get to see him and her, like Laurie Strode and Michael Meyers, like exchange knife. Like they have a knife fight. Yeah. It's pretty fucking glorious. And then decapitation like that. It doesn't get much more. You cannot confirm a slasher death much better than that.
Than decapitation, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, and there's actually, I think there was a second way we could tell there's going to be more, is the closing shot is the three of them kind of like sleeping on each other, just laying there like, wow, it's all done. And Allison, the granddaughter, is holding the knife, and that's the last thing we see.
Well, there's some funny nods to what came before, to the movies that we've, for this film, we're pretending did not happen. Mm-hmm. Like some of the worst Halloween films in the series involve this cult. I think this thorn cult of some sort. I forget exactly the name of it.
Is that the third movie?
No. That was completely unrelated. But
I've seen the fourth and fifth one, and that's what the end of the fifth one is. Where
that's what I was getting at. Was that the end of the fourth one is the intention was that the little girl was going to pick up where Michael left off.
Yeah,
like it's a curse of some sort, and that was a really cool idea that they did not follow through on, because the iconography of Michael Myers was too strong, and producers were a little gun shy about it. But the cult thing in this film, a lot of what Dr. Satan was doing, there's actually like a shadowy figure in, I think, the fifth film that does a lot of the things Dr. Satan was trying to do. And then the end with Allison having the knife kind of is a nod to the fourth movie with the little girl putting on the clown mask and starting up the killing again. So they're showing respect, I guess, to what came before. I don't know if they're going to do anything with it. But at this point, it's like, I don't think you can continue this story anymore. Like Laurie and Michael, I think, are done. Like there's not much more you can do with that.
I don't think you're going to get Jamie Lee Curtis for another movie. I just don't.
I wouldn't want to see it, to be honest, unless you had some super clever way of doing it.
Unless you're going to amp up the gore. I don't know. Like,
well, I mean, in slasher movie tradition, that's what you do for the sequel.
That's the next step, yeah.
You dumb down the writing and amp up the gore.
Yeah.
I think we both agree that this was pretty solid film.
Yeah, like, I enjoyed it.
It's well made, and it's fairly well written too. Like a lot of the dialogue exchanges are good. I kind of wish the balance of the screen time, like devoted to certain characters, was a little evened out. Because Laurie's actually not in that much in the movie. No. And the marketing campaign for this movie made it feel like it was going to be her movie. But there's too many shenanigans with Dr. Satan, and like we spend too much time with Dr. Satan and Will Patton, and we're kind of jumping around, and then we just kind of, like, the way we get to Laurie literally would not have happened if Dr. Satan hadn't driven him to her doorstep. Mm-hmm. In fact, he makes a lot of allusions to the fact that, like, Laurie and, like, Michael is hunting Laurie, like he's back to finish the job or something. I don't think he is.
No.
I don't think he gives a shit. I think you just drove him to her doorstep, and he's like, oh, well, there's some people in there, I should kill him, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like, what's that? Oh God, the not Baldwin, the Baldwin from Predator 2 and
Adam.
Adam Baldwin, yes.
Yeah.
Like, what is he? What's his name in Full Metal Jacket? You walk the walk, but do you talk the talk? Like, he's just like a brain dead killer. I'm like, I think that's what Michael is. He's just like, wherever you send him, he's just gonna keep shoot. Like, he's just gonna shoot.
See, I don't know. Was that Animal Mother, or was that
Animal
else?
Mother? Yes, that's Animal Mother.
I don't know how you would write it exactly. I really can't think of a good way to write it, but I do think it would be interesting to play on that, where it's like Laurie has this like massive emotional attachment, like she's triggered by the existence of this guy, and then when they're in the same room together, she she's just another thing to him.
Yeah.
Like, he does not give a shit. Because that, to me, like, I thought that was the point of erasing the continuity. Because, you know, in the second Halloween movie, that was when they established that she's, like, secretly his sister. Mm-hmm. And so the story arc after that point was always that he's trying to, like, kill off his entire bloodline or something. Or later on do naughty things to his bloodline. But by erasing all that, you remove the familial connection, the blood connection, and then she just becomes another victim.
What they could have done was actually killed her very early, even, and him just keep moving, like actually, like, not really early, but earlier than what we expect, and be like, no, he just doesn't care. Like, he's just gonna keep doing this. Again,
I don't know exactly how you would write it, but I do think that would be interesting, where you have like this really heavy emotional moment on her end, and then for him it's just like, whatever. Like, maybe have her like literally chasing him and like shooting at him, and he's just like, the fuck's she yelling about? Like he's in the middle of doing something else, and he just does not have the time of day for her.
So yeah, Michael Myers is either supernatural in this movie, or he is a genius, because there's no way he should have figured out that stupid island. Like, there's no way. He's never seen anything like that before. He would not know.
I'm telling you, man, like, if he saw a flat panel television in one of these homes, he would probably just stop and just stare at that. Just, what? Or like a cell phone or something. It's like, hang on, you mean you're making a phone call from the street? How did you do that?
What's with this? What is this? Why do you have a TV on your...
How do you have the TV in your hand?
Yeah.
That'd be funny if that's the one thing Michael says in the whole movie. In the entire history of the character.
That's just what he says. HD. It's like, can I have some weed? I am brain dead. I can't talk about this movie anymore.
Yeah, this has been a very long one, but a good one. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for joining us as we caught up on cinema. Again, Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. Until next time, folks.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.